This is Badass Billy Gunn, 11-time WWE Tag Team Champion, Intercontinental Champion, Hardcore Champion, and you're listening to IcoPod. You gotta hear this. And if you're not listening to this, I got 2 words for you. Suck it.
It is time for the biggest event of the summer in 1993. It is time for SummerSlam 1993. It's episode 36 of IcoPod. I'm Bob Collins Jr. and my sweaty partner in crime, Austin Skinner.
An event so hot, we had to wait till fall, baby.
That's
Here
right.
we are.
That's right. You're probably looking at your calendar right now saying, wait a minute. It's October. And I'd be saying, yeah, you're right. Because the action here is so goddamn hot, you would probably pass out if this was released at any time in the summer. So I figured, hey, let's wait until it's probably, 70, 68 here in the Northeast. Down in Florida, it's probably, going to be 80-ish.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, it's not going to be like 120. So I'm looking out for you.
Yeah.
For you listeners.
No, just me, Bob.
Oh, right.
Just me. It's also funny, too, that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we are currently recording this 25 years to the day after the original airing of this program.
You're absolutely right, and I'm glad you said that because I was going to point it out as well. It is, in fact, the 25th anniversary of the 1993 SummerSlam event.
Yes.
And I didn't even script it like that. That just happened to be the day that it fell on. So
pretty weird. Meant to be.
Yeah, for sure. So as per usual, we just got out of the SummerSlam Spectacular. And at the end of that, I said, if you want to send any kind of feedback or questions, concerns, you can do that, of course. If you go to Facebook, just type in IcoPod or go to IcoPodcast@gmail.com. Send in your things and your comments, and we'll be all set. At the end of this episode, I literally have 5 pages worth of comments and various things pertaining to this show that I will be reading on the air. So
fuck.
This might be a lengthy one there, folks.
Stop sending us shit.
Yeah, stop listening and wanting to talk about professional wrestling 25 years ago. That'd be great.
Oh,
but
man.
why delay the inevitable here? Let's get right into some stuff here. So I got quite a few house shows as well, partially because the August 16th edition of Raw was in fact the last actual Raw leading into SummerSlam. So they have quite a bit of shows here leading up to it. So we'll just kind of go through those quickly after I do this brief observer note. So let's get on with it. The observer note here is just one. It's on previously mentioned on August 23rd. Lex Luger pinned WWF World Champion Yokozuna in a non-title match after less than 7 minutes of action. Now, apparently, well, I want to note that this was at a USWA show,
right?
Which we'll be discussing here in a minute anyway. So he pins him in less than 7 minutes. Apparently, though, many fans left before and during the match. It's important to note, I thought. And it's interesting that a lot of people would be doing that.
Whoa.
About 3,400 fans attended the show. That's what at least Dave Meltzer said. But that was mostly due to the current feuds between Jerry Lawler and Paul Neighbors, who was a crooked referee, I guess, at that time, and a feud between Brian Christopher and Chris Adams in relation to Tony Adams, who was, I guess, having a storyline affair with Brian Christopher. So that might have been an also contributing factor to the larger larger crowd attendance than they normally were getting in 1993. So going right into the house show notes, I do have the USWA show highlighted here. It's the first one. It took place in the Mid-South Coliseum on August 23rd with about 3,567 fans attending. The card featured American Eagle and Billy McCallaghan taking on the Hawk and Leon Downs. Couldn't tell you who those were. Luna Vachon in singles action against Miss Texas, who would go on to be Jacqueline, as mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
The Dog Catchers taking on the Moondogs. Chris Adams taking on Brian Christopher. And a pre-match stipulation was that if Brian Christopher were to win, he would earn Tony Adams, who was, again, married to Chris Adams. So that's a Memphis storyline for you.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy Valiant and Super Mario teamed up to take on PG-13. Jeff Jarrett squared off against the Vampire Warrior. Jerry Lawler took on Paul Neighbors in a stretcher match. And in the main event, WWF World Champion Yokozuna took on Lex Luger in a non-title match. Obviously, we know the result of that. So, Austin, I know you don't know very much about the USWA. Anything on that show that maybe caught your eye?
Well, I'll tell you what. If I'm a fan in Tennessee, and I'm an avid WWF watcher, so let's say I tune into Raw every week, you better believe I'm buying a friggin' ticket to go see the SummerSlam main event before SummerSlam.
Yeah.
That alone would have got me in the show. I mean, I really could care less of the rest of it just because USWA 93, not really my cup of tea. Don't really have much interest there. Yeah, what a weird... And to put it on a USWA show, maybe I guess they assume hopefully most casual WWF fans aren't going to those. So they can kind of test the match in front of a live audience, but not necessarily give it away to anybody important. But yeah, no, I would have been attending that show specifically for that.
Well, by all accounts, they definitely doubled their normal houses. Because I looked it up in 93, they were regularly doing like 1,000 to 1,300.
Yeah.
So they more than doubled the usual attendance figures here. Now, as I mentioned before in a past episode, that it was a pain in the ass to get some Memphis footage, but I eventually got it. I'm not in 1993, not by a long shot, but this does kind of catch my eye a little bit. I mean, I'm looking forward to eventually seeing the actual Brian Christopher and Chris Adams feud.
I hear good things about Brian Christopher 93.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing his growth as a performer. Unfortunately, of course, he has passed away fairly recently.
Yes,
which is truly unfortunate. I don't know anything about the Paul Neighbors Jerry Lawler thing. Although I do want to point out that Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson were ringside for that match.
Oh.
So, and I guess there was some confrontations between McMahon and Lawler. Now, of course, this is during the USWA WWF feud.
Right.
So that was a kind of a tie-in. But again, similar with you and like the Luger Yokozuna thing, like I think you would have to, that's a pretty rare occurrence, I think, to have the main event of a major pay-per-view just right in your backyard.
Yeah.
So I think that's a show I would go to.
I agree.
Our first WWF house show it took place in Long Island, New York on August 27th. And it had 6,800 fans in attendance. Men on a Mission took on Well Done, and they were substituting for Money Incorporated. Tatanka taking on Doink the Clown. Bam Bam Bigelow squaring off against Mr. Perfect. The team of Giant Gonzalez and Adam Bomb, who was substituting for Mr. Hughes, took on The Undertaker and Randy Savage. The 1-2-3 Kid took on Bastion Booger. WWF Intercontinental Champion Shawn Michaels defended against Razor Ramon. And the apparent main event is WWF Tag Team Champion Steiner Brothers defending against the Head Shrinkers. Is that a show you would check out? Yeah,
I think it is. I think there's a couple of matches there that kind of stand out for me. Main event sells me alone because anytime those teams square off, it's going to be good. You said Razor was taking on Shawn?
Yes.
That's obviously an interesting match to me. And then you had Adam Bomb was tagging with who?
Giant
Mr.
Gonzalez.
Hughes? Oh, Giant Gonzalez.
He was a substitute for
Mr. Hughes. I think those three matches alone kind of sell me a ticket. Again, would I buy front row? Probably not. But I'd probably get decent tickets for that show.
That's a show I would go to. I would go to as well. Their house shows lately have been pretty strong.
Pretty good, yeah.
They also had a show in London, Ontario on August 29th. Unfortunately, I don't have attendance numbers for that, so I don't know how many people went. But the card featured Mo of Men on a Mission taking on Steven Dunn of Well Done. The 1-2-3 Kid taking on Doink the Clown. WWF Tag Team Champion Steiner Brothers taking on the Head Shrinkers. Tatanka squared off against Bastion Booger. WWF Intercontinental Champion Shawn Michaels teamed up with his bodyguard Diesel to take on Mr. Perfect and Razor Ramon. IRS was a substitute for Giant Gonzalez. He took on Randy Macho Man Savage. And the main event was The Undertaker squaring off against Adam Bomb, who was also a substitute for Mr. Hughes.
Again, not a bad card. Not as strong as the first, I don't think. And of course, you're strictly going for Tatanka Bastion Booger.
I mean, duh. He's my boy.
Right. I probably would have got maybe nosebleeds for that show.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, we're I think on the same wavelength for these shows here. I mean, 1-2-3 Kid Doink would probably be pretty good. Obviously, tag title match.
Right. IRS Savage might be decent.
Yeah, that's another one. But I also would be. I think this would be the first time we would see Diesel in the ring in WWF.
Well, and that's kind of the match.
Aside from the elimination tags, I should say. So he was involved in those.
Right. And I was going to say, I think that's the more or less the match that would get me in a seat. Would be that tag match, because that's a lot of talent in one ring. So,
well, yeah, but I'm also, I mean, we're big Adam Bomb fans, so him against Undertaker,
the main event,
another sellable thing. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. That's a weaker card, but not too bad. I think I'm with you on that and getting the nosebleed tickets there.
Yeah.
And the final show here is also another USWA show, and this took place the day before SummerSlam on August 29th, and it drew 2,100 fans. The show featured Jeff Gaylord taking on Colin Scott, JC Ice squaring off against Danny Davis, Mike Anthony taking on Wolfie D, Brute Force taking on Johnny West and Randy Rocket. Now, those first four matches, I can tell you right now, I only know two people. It'd be Wolfie D and JC Ice because of PG-13. And Danny Davis, but I mean, he's not anything really that big of a deal. Miss Texas, of course, again, that is Jacqueline, taking on the Black Pussycat. That's right, the Black Pussycat. Interesting name. Giant Gonzalez in singles action against the Vampire Warrior.
Oh, God.
USWA Southern Champion Jeff Jarrett defending against Owen Hart.
Oh.
The Dog Catchers taking on the Moondogs. Chris Adams squaring off against Brian Christopher in a loser leaves town match. And the main event is Bret Hart taking on Jerry Lawler inside of a steel cage, with the stipulation being that if Jerry Lawler were to have lost, you would have to refund the fans' money.
Well, we know it ain't happening.
You would be surprised how many times that they ran that fucking angle.
I would.
It was insane.
I'd probably save my money and find something better to do that night, personally. Don't get me wrong. Honestly, the Owen Jarrett match would probably be pretty good. The Brian Christopher match would probably be something worth seeing. Miss Texas, I'll tell you what, it seems to be on almost every card.
Yeah.
So that might be, something worth seeing. But as soon as you say Giant Gonzalez versus Vampire Warrior, man, my money ain't coming out of my pocket.
I would be giving this a front row seat.
You got to be shitting me.
I'm really not. And dude, Lawler Bret at this time in a steel cage. I'm sorry. I'm probably dishing out some money to see that. Jarrett
front row seat.
I'm probably gonna do it. I'm a sucker for a steel cage match, and this is a heated feud on television. Like, give me a break. I'm for sure doing it.
Yeah, but Lawler's the face.
Yeah, in Memphis. Yeah.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. I would totally go to it. Front row. I don't give a fuck. Plus Brian Christopher and Chris Adams. I mean, I've even recently looked up YouTube videos. It's fucking kind of intense there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jarrett Owen, I would be inclined to think they would have a pretty good match. I mean, I could probably drink my way through the first four matches.
Oh, God.
Giant Gonzalez Vampire Warrior could be my bathroom break, get some food. And then after that, I would assume the Dog Catchers and Moondogs is probably nothing but a freaking hardcore brawl. That's all the Moondogs really were anyway. So
Well, I was gonna say that explains it because I don't drink, so I wouldn't have made it.
Well, there you go. Yeah. You wouldn't have made it. I know. I would for sure would have checked that one out. But a show that we certainly did check out is coming up next. And it is the 1993 edition of SummerSlam. And it was live, pal. August 30th, Auburn Hills, Michigan. Attendance is 23,954.
Awesome.
And a buy rate of about 250,000 homes.
Yeah.
That's a big attendance, though, man. That's by far the biggest one that we've had so far.
And I'll tell you what, right off the bat, opening crowd shots, you can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get right into it. The show starts off with some footage here at 6:02 Eastern Time. The Lex Express arrived in Auburn Hills, Michigan. We see several hundred fans approach the bus and welcome Lex Luger to the venue. Is tonight the night? Can he win the WWF World Championship from Yokozuna? Well, buddy, you'll have 2.5 hours before we find out. We get the little brief SummerSlam opening video thing, kind of get you in the mood here. Before we go right to ringside, where Vince McMahon and Bobby Heenan welcome us to the show, as McMahon heavily promotes the Lex Express arriving to the arena. Heenan says there are 4, not 3 titles on the line, as the king of the ring match between Bret and Lawler would make for the 4th title. Who is the true king? By God, Heenan thinks that that's going to be Jerry Lawler. He also thinks that Jim Cornette is going to manage the tag team champions and world champion, and he will have a whole lot of money as a result.
Who knows? Could happen.
We'll find out. There's only one way to find out, and that, by God, is to continue listening to IcoPod. Or you could go on the WWE Network and just watch it yourself. But just listen to us for now. That leads us to our first match of the evening, and it is Razor Ramon taking on Ted DiBiase.
Yeah. And, just to, not to cut you off, Bob, but crowd's rocking. Place looks sold out. Don't know if it is. Looks like it is.
Red, white, and blue all over.
Red, white, and blue all over. Vince and Bobby here at the kind of going through the card quick. Action's happening. And then as they're talking, Ted DiBiase's music starts playing. It's such a cool, like, atmosphere, ready to go. No stalling. It's SummerSlam. First match. Here it is. We're done talking. Let's go to the ring. It was perfect. I loved it.
Yeah. I do. I mean, I can't get over the big crowd. It just adds, I think, really adds to the show.
So much,
personally.
Yeah. Yep.
DiBiase attacks before the bell, stomping away on Ramon, followed by strikes and chops in the corner. Ramon backdrops DiBiase and tosses him with a fallaway slam. He then punches DiBiase to the floor, and he finally removes his vest. So he did all that still with his gear on.
Mm-hmm.
DiBiase regains control in the corner with some more chops, but is met with a few clotheslines. Ramon charges and clotheslines DiBiase over the top to the floor. Ramon slingshots DiBiase back into the ring from the apron. DiBiase at this point begs off, but then sends Ramon chest first into the corner. DiBiase chokes Ramon over the top rope to keep control. DiBiase knocks Ramon to the mat moments later. He keeps control with a choke on the mat and then drives Ramon down with a backbreaker for a near fall. DiBiase gets another 2 count after a shoulder block / clothesline. DiBiase keeps Ramon on the mat with a sleeper hold. Ramon prevents his arms from falling down 3 times and fights to his feet with elbow strikes. DiBiase needless Ramon and follows up with a swinging neck breaker. DiBiase takes Ramon down with a vertical suplex and signals for the $1 Million Dream, but Ramon is able to block it with an elbow strike. Ramon clotheslines DiBiase, and they are both down on the mat. DiBiase knocks Ramon to the floor after driving him face first into the corner. DiBiase goes to the corner and exposes the top turnbuckle. Ramon sends DiBiase into the exposed turnbuckle and then wins the match with the Razor's Edge. So what I got out of this is they did a very similar finish that we had just saw between Ramon and Blake Beverly at the SummerSlam Spectacular. So that kind of lost some importance to me. It was also very noticeable how much the crowd kind of died whenever DiBiase was in control. He had that kind of old school 80s offense going for him. They didn't seem to be all that much into it. It kind of shows that it's not going to connect in 93, and that's why DiBiase is kind of fading out of the WWF at this point. Regardless of that, it's still Ted DiBiase. He still has name value. So I would consider it still a pretty good win for Ramon in a singles role. The biggest, I would maybe say the biggest televised victory for Ramon. But it did kind of feel like it dragged on a little bit. Maybe could have cut maybe a minute or 2 off of it, have a better impact. What about you, Austin? What did you think of this opening contest to SummerSlam 1993?
Yeah, I would agree with most of what you said there, Bob. I could definitely tell that Ted was gassed in this match. You know, he was, especially towards the end, he was really slow, sweating like crazy.
Probably not used to doing singles match.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you know what, though, to be fair to Ted, this is probably the most work we've seen him put in months.
Yeah.
Like, it was a solid little singles match, and I think Ted was able to keep up with Razor by the skin of his teeth, but he was. So I didn't mind it. I thought it was a good opener. Like you said, I did notice the similar finish, and I didn't like that Razor almost kind of struggled getting Ted up because it looked like Ted was sandbagging. Like Ted wasn't really helping. Yeah. And I was surprised to see Ted take a Razor's edge, I'll be honest with you.
But you still think Hogan would take a middle rope fallaway slam?
Oh, he definitely would, yeah. It's another story for another time. Yeah, not a bad little match here. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that kind of stood out to me. Oh, you know what, too? I noticed that this is the first show in a couple that Razor wasn't wearing like the red, white, and blue armbands to support Lex Luger. Like he didn't have them on. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah. Because he was even watching it for the summer. He was even wearing them for the SummerSlam Spectacular. I didn't make note of it, but I did notice it. So, you know, that's good to see. It's nice to see that Razor has jumped off the Lex Express bus. He's gotten off. Yeah, basic match. It was decent for what it was. Razor's the star here, obviously. Mm-hmm. It's only a matter of time before, at this point, he moves up the card quite a bit. He's young. He's big. He's got all the tools, buddy. Basic stuff. It was a lot of basic moves. It's playing it safe. That's what this match was.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing shocking here. It's a decent start to the show.
Yeah.
And definitely, you know, I think a statement and win for Ramon, kind of being like, hey, all right, it's time to maybe rocket this guy up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I took from it.
I was also, just one more thing too, and it's totally off topic, but I was looking at these guys and to think in 3 years, they're going to be in a different company in a heel faction on the same side.
Right.
So weird. Just like you could have never have guessed that at all watching this.
Well, and to continue on with that is, you know, Ted DiBiase was just feuding with the Steiner brothers. In 4 years, he would be the manager of the Steiner brothers.
Right.
In a different company.
Right.
So you would never think that would probably happen either.
So weird. So weird.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Speaking of weird, Todd Pettengill interviews the Steiner brothers' mother and sister, though he isn't sure who is who, which is an attempted compliment. Now, if I was the sister, I'm probably like, what the fuck are you trying to say? You don't know which one's the sister, which one's the mother? Fuck you. And of course, the mother's going to be like, oh, yeah, it's so sweet.
Right.
The mother just doesn't care about what Pettengill is saying. She's just like, yeah, sure, we'll go with that.
She literally said, yeah, whatever you say.
Yeah. And then Pettingill's is like, yeah, and Pettingill's is like, okay, let's go to the sister. Their sister proceeds to call them the Steiner brothers, Rob and Scott. Of course, that's not
their shoot
Rick
name.
Steiner. Yeah, that's Rob would be Rick Steiner's shoot name. Again, so I mean, this has happened before where they've mentioned Rick's real name of being Rob.
Yeah.
So again, they don't really fucking care about what's going on.
No.
The daughter, or not the daughter, the sister might be fucking hammered. Who knows what's going on? I don't know. Jim Cornette is in the ring and he introduces the Heavenly Bodies. He's pretty sure that they're going to be the WWF Tag Team Champions. Of course, we then see a brief shot here of the mother and sister seemingly mocking the business as they're just like, oh yeah, whatever, buddy, get out of town. Like they're not buying into this fucking business at all.
It was so laughable how much they didn't give a fuck about being interviewed or the business in general. Like they don't care.
Yeah, they really don't.
Also, what's the story with the Jim Cornette neck brace?
I would have to assume that was a Smoky Mountain thing at the time.
That's what I'm thinking. Mostly, probably an angle.
Yeah, if I had to guess, it had to be something regarding Rock and Roll Express. I don't know off the top of my head.
Oh, that's what I thought you would, Mr. Smoky Mountain.
No, I don't. But I'm certain it had to do something like that, or Bob Armstrong or something. That's all he ever feuded with, was the Rock and Roll Express and Bob Armstrong when he was in Smoky Mountain. So
all right,
probably something along those lines. As you could have guessed, that brings us to our second contest. It is the WWF Tag Team Champions Steiner Brothers defending against the Heavenly Bodies. Now, considering, Austin, you don't know much about the Heavenly Bodies, why don't you talk about the match?
Well, starting it right off here, the Steiners got a decent hometown pop. Of course, they hugged Mom and Sis at ringside before getting in there. And again, we got an impromptu attack here. So this time, it was on the tag champs. The Bodies worked Rick over by keeping Scott on the outside, knocking him down from the apron every time he tried to get up. So they kind of started off with a head of steam here. Scott finally got in the ring, and then it was all Steiners. Scott made everything look easy, as he always does. He's just like freakishly strong and always has been. And we are seeing a lot of that again here. We did get a tilt-a-whirl slam on Jimmy Del Rey, who looked like he was literally just along for the ride, as Scott basically manhandled him through the move, which was so funny to just kind of see the look on his face as he's getting this done to him. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going with it, which is typical of a Scott Steiner move, I feel like. Jimmy Cornette was going nuts on the outside in a fit of rage, which is always funny to watch as well. So Tom and Jimmy here were bumping all over the ring. Jimmy Del Rey, that is, not Cornette. All over the ring, and they were getting more airtime than most Boeing 747s. Like, they were in the air every couple of seconds, just bumping like crazy for the Steiners here. It was awesome. Tom and Rick then were working in the ring, and the tag format continually broke down between the two teams. Rick clotheslined Tom like he wasn't even there, and Del Rey got the same when he came in to kind of back his partner up. Moving from that, Scott was in next, and he got put down with a bulldog from Tom Pritchard. And Rick then tagged back in quick before Scott got flattened on the outside with Jimmy Del Rey coming off the apron on him. So there's action kind of all over the ring. We got it at ringside, in the ring, on the apron. A lot of good stuff here. Del Rey tagged in and landed some decent offense, a float over DDT, and a couple of other moves. Nobody was really staying in control in the ring too long. And it was at this point that the Bodies were the ones with the momentum. So the switch had kind of swung again. Del Rey hit a good side kick in Scott's face off an Irish whip. And Cornette was able to slip the racket shot in on Scott while the ref's back was turned, which kept the Bodies kind of in the lead, keeping Scott on their side of the ring. Del Rey went for another float over DDT, but Scott hit him with a good suplex to buy him some time. And Dr. Tom was in, and he got a pump handle drop for his troubles, leading Scott to finally tag out to Rick, who was waiting for him on the apron there. And, of course, Rick came in, cleaned house, hit some clotheslines, some suplexes, and a bulldog for a near fall before Tom broke up the pin attempt there. Ref's back was turned again, allowing Jim Cornette to throw the racket to Tom Pritchard, who used it on Rick. And they got another near fall, so a lot of close calls here. I almost thought that was going to be the finish, to be honest with you. The crowd was into this one huge at this point, like they were all in. So was I. And Del Rey then accidentally hit Tom with his moonsault, which led up to him receiving a Frankensteiner and ultimately the loss for his team. Solid match. Not as good as the Head Shrinkers WrestleMania match with the Steiners, but probably a close second. I thought I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. That's right, Bob. I have a good respect for the Heavenly Bodies.
Holy fucking shit.
Yeah. They delivered big time. They're a solid team. Their tag team stuff is really crisp and good. And with the Steiners here, they shined. I thought they shined more than the Steiners did. They were bumping machines. A lot of innovative moves for especially bigger guys. And the Steiners and the Bodies here meshed very, very well.
Oh, without question. I thought for sure you were going to note that Bobby Heenan at one point reveals his grading for the match and says that he has the bodies up 1,112 to 9.
I remember him saying that. I didn't put it in my notes, but that was a good one. I do remember him saying that.
It's like, I think McMahon like made a note about like, oh, this is evilly contested. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I have the heavenly bodies up 1,112 to 9.
Yeah,
it's just like,
yeah.
What? How are you scoring this match?
Yeah.
No, this was a really great match. Yeah, not on the same level as Steiner's Head Shrinkers, like you noted at WrestleMania 9, but I mean, it's still really solid. And Pritchard and Del Rey did the best they could to even make the Steiner brothers look even more dominating.
Yes.
But I wouldn't leave this match thinking the bodies couldn't eventually beat them, especially with Jim Cornette and giving the racket and stuff like that. So I could totally buy into the bodies being presented as a top heel team, one or two behind the Head Shrinkers moving forward. I thought they did really well. I did. I really enjoyed the match. Constant action too. There wasn't any really big lulls or anything.
Oh no, for sure. And like, do we know how long it went?
I believe it went around 9 minutes. Let me check real quick.
Didn't feel like it.
It went 9 minutes and 28 seconds.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it. It was very fast paced. A lot of not too many tag in and outs. Like, oh my god, I can't even keep track. But a good amount where you were getting fresh things. You were getting different combinations, and you would get the slight tag breakdowns. And it was just a very well paced, well delivered match.
Yeah, without question. So right now that could be a show stealer. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see how the rest of this plays out. Backstage, we have a debut, and it's not a wrestler, but rather it's an announcer. It's Joe Fowler. I mean, you can't get much worse than Terry Taylor, or can you? He asks if Michaels can hang on to the title tonight, and then Michaels' response says that the question of who is the best IC champion will be answered tonight. He will prove that he is the greatest Intercontinental champion of all time. He also claims that he wears the championship and that he won it, not Diesel. Diesel didn't help him beat Jannetty in Albany, New York. No. Michaels won it on his own. We then hear from Diesel, and he speaks, and he says that saying that women dig Michaels and they leave the area.
Oh no, Bob, you didn't do that justice at all.
I know I kind of tripped over my words there, but it's okay. He says that the women dig him. Chicks dig a champion. They dig Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, and then what?
I don't remember. I probably just zoned out.
Oh my god. All right. So first time hearing from Diesel, right? He's this big badass guy, right? Supposedly.
Yeah.
He says here. He does. He says, it's no secret that the chicks dig Shawn Michaels, the IC champion.
Yeah.
Diesel's sole job is he's just here to keep them off the champ. Then he says, come on, champ, let's get out of here. Holy shit. That heterosexual image just continues to be flushed down the drain.
What? He's protecting Shawn Michaels from all the women.
And then says, come on, champ, let's get out of here, champ.
Yeah.
Holy fucking shit.
He's a sensitive bodyguard.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
I don't see what's so weird about this. So what? Shawn Michaels prefers a 6'10" gentle giant to make love to instead of a woman. There's no what's the big deal?
That the undertones are there and I never knew it.
He's big. This is what Shawn Michaels should be doing in his promos. He should be like, you know what, Joe Fowler? This guy's big. By God, I call him daddy. And he is sure is cool. And then Diesel would just put his hand right on his shoulder, tip down his glasses, give him a wink, and be like, let's go, champ.
Champ,
SummerSlam warm-up. I mean, what are we waiting for?
Champ, you're looking a little dry, champ. Should we just get that oil on you? Come on, champ. Let's get out of here.
Oh, my God.
Me and you, champ.
Yeah,
come on,
champ.
Shawn. Ladies, stay back. Big Daddy's got him.
Big Daddy Cool's got him.
Oh, my God.
Cool off the champ.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
Well, I mean, doesn't the guy wear, like, ridiculous outfits and like leather.
Well, here's the thing. So he wears like women's biker clothes, like all the frills and stuff. That's like typically a woman on the back of a Harley's wearing that, like the frilly leather stuff. And that's all Diesel wears. There's so many signs, and like, I guess I never realized it before because I've never really focused on this time period, but it is no wonder Shawn's getting, homophobic chants chanted at him.
Right.
Because if you didn't know any better, that's what it's coming off as.
Well, just to jump ahead a little bit, because you're totally right about this. I think when like Goldust comes in like 95, 96, they should have ran an angle where Shawn Michaels contemplates if he's gay or not.
Oh my God, with Goldust?
Yeah, Goldust can be like, Shawn, and then Shawn can be like, oh my God, is that a girl?
I've known it for years, Shawn.
Yeah.
You weren't hiding it from me. I've known.
Remember Big Daddy? Cool.
Meet Bigger Daddy. Goldust.
I mean, come on.
That would have been awesome.
That would have been priceless. And I may or may not be doing that in my rebooking of WWF, which you can find at WrestlingRecaps.com.
That would have been good.
The third contest of the evening is WWF Intercontinental Champion Shawn Michaels defending against Mr. Perfect. Considering these are two of Austin's favorites, Austin, I'll give you the honors.
Well, segueing into that, Shawn came out here in all white, Diesel in all black, frilly leather, his signature. And Perfect was out next, looking in pretty good shape, better shape than I think we've seen him in his little black attire he had on. And then we were thrown to Radio WWF, where Jim Ross and Gorilla Monsoon were doing commentary for what Finn said was the rest of the world, which I thought was interesting. So we're getting two different commentary teams. I think they made note, though, that it was for like the armed forces.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of cool that they're doing two kind of different broadcasts there. And we see that during the entrances here. The crowd was only half into Perfect's entrance, it seemed like, but he seemed laser focused. And Heenan even said that so when Perfect spits his gum and slaps it, Heenan says, "Oh, something in my eye." Like acting like the gum hit him in the eye. Vince is like, "Are you all right?" "Yeah, something hit me in the eye, I think." It was pretty good. So Perfect's in tip-top form here, and Bobby's playing right into it. So it was great. I still had hopes for this match.
Just want to, before we continue here, I just want to let it be known, I would have given Bobby Heenan any amount of money so he would stay on commentary.
Oh, I know, yeah. I would have had him the highest paid guy on my payroll.
Yeah, without question.
For sure. Going into the action here, Shawn started things off with dropping Perfect quick. Perfect popped right back up, though. And let me tell you, the tan on Mr. Perfect was crazy here.
I noticed that, too. It was like Hulk Hogan 97 level.
Yeah, he was real dark. And it looked really weird with like his platinum blonde hair. It was really weird. Back to the action here. Shawn worked in a headlock, and Vince alluded to Perfect being somewhat of a mentor to Shawn, which they've never made mention of before. So I thought that was weird. Maybe some foreshadowing there.
That might have been good for like commentary leading up to the match.
Yeah, to make that. Yeah.
They never touched base on that before.
No, it came out of nowhere. We got a slight miscue here with a ducked clothesline, which sent both guys selling out of confusion. Like they didn't know who hit the move on who. But they did recover quickly by getting back into a hold and kind of just skipping right over that portion. And then we went into more quick offense, back and forth, led to another stalemate between the two. Chance shouted for Mr. Perfect as he took over in one of the corners as he lit up Shawn with some good chops. And then they had to do a redo of a spot where Shawn had to kind of stall and spin as Perfect was late on a clothesline. Clunky, weird, just to kind of see these slips, especially with two of the better wrestlers on the roster. There was definitely some miscues here. They did slow things back down. Shawn landing some shoulder tackles in the corner. Perfect reversed a dive off the top into an arm drag, which looked good and grounded Shawn once again. Perfect caught Shawn in a drop kick and catapulted him over the top rope to the floor. And Shawn then called Diesel over to distract Perfect long enough to hit a stiff looking super kick on the outside, kind of right on his face. Bobby said, "Good. I hate a guy with a big mouth." After Perfect got super kick there. Shawn got Perfect back in the ring, hit several elbows to the back, and then stalled a little bit more. Bobby yelled for Shawn to club Perfect's back a second time, to which Shawn just shrugged and did it, which I thought was funny. Like, Bobby's calling spots and Shawn's doing it. Shawn began, from that point, he began working over Perfect's back, hitting some stomps, and we heard Perfect yell, like, out of selling, "Oh, damn it."
Yeah.
After getting the stomps put on him. Perfect did rally back with a drop kick, a back body drop, and his signature knee lift that sent Shawn into the ref, who didn't take a bump. So Shawn was kind of sent into the ref. The ref just kind of stumbled aside and moved around. So that made me think that, okay, it's going to happen, but this isn't the spot that's going to do it. We got a near fall and a couple actually here for Mr. Perfect. They were then in another stalemate for a backslide pin, so they were both trying to struggle to get the other over, and Perfect got the better of it. He hit a perfect plex, and Diesel pulled him right out of the pin. So it looked like we were going to get the 3 count there. We didn't. All this was done behind the ref's back, and Perfect and Diesel traded punches on the outside, and Shawn was even tagged in the crossfire there after jumping out on Perfect. Perfect then threw Shawn back in the ring, and Shawn rolled into the ref as he was getting thrown back in the ring. So basically steamrolled him to have the ref knocked down. And I was like, okay, there's where it's happening here. Perfect was then thrown into the ring post by Diesel and ended up getting counted out for the finish here. Crowd booed huge as Shawn and Diesel kind of celebrated, but Perfect was back in the ring to lay into the two. It wouldn't last long, as the numbers game would catch up with Mr. Perfect and he would be left laying. Now, I thought it was funny that Diesel's sole job is to watch Shawn's back and then proceeds to allow Mr. Perfect to get the jump on both of them for the few seconds. Like, what?
He never said he was good at it.
I guess. And that's not it for this either, because as Shawn and Diesel are kind of making their way up the entranceway, Todd Pettengill stops them and said that there was no way Shawn Michaels could be happy with that win. Shawn replied with, "There's your answer. Shawn Michaels is the greatest IC champion. I'm out of here." Perfect did recover and then ran to chase Shawn and Diesel to the back. Decent match, a lot of flubs, which I was kind of surprised to see, especially between two of the better guys on the roster. Cheap finish, which again sucks. I hated the ref bump. It looked really clunky, where Shawn, like I said, literally steamrolled over the ref, and it was like he got caught. It was like, if you ever seen a piece of paper get caught in a printer, that's what it looked like.
Right.
He just slowly fell down as Shawn rolled over him. I don't know. Not great, not horrible, not outstanding though. It's a very forgettable Mr. Perfect Shawn Michaels match.
I mean, this is a major disappointment. They were promoting it as being,
I agree,
potentially the biggest Intercontinental title match, best match that we've ever seen.
Yeah,
that's what we get. We get a count out victory.
Right.
It never really even.
You know what though, Bob? To be fair, it started off good, I thought.
I mean, it was okay. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it never got into high gear. And if it did, it was right before the count out.
Right.
And then it was over.
Right.
And like you mentioned, there was a clunky spots, mistimed.
A lot, yeah.
It was just, I think this is a prime example of anybody that tries to talk to me about how, Mr. Perfect was like, one of the greatest ever, whatever. It's like, I think more times than not, when it comes to big time matches, like he has average matches.
It's almost like the Mandela effect.
Yeah.
You know,
you've used that phrase a few times, and I think it's accurate.
Yeah, well, I think it applies well here. Like, you remember Mr. Perfect as one of the greats, and sure, by personality wise and like memorable wise, yes. In ring wise and even promo wise, not necessarily. He's probably pretty middle of the pack, really.
I think it's an example of, I don't know if I guess I'll use the comparison now. I guess it's like when someone dies, they suddenly become amazing. And then the example I'm going to use here is Jim Neidhart. Okay, Jim Neidhart recently passed away. Now, before he passed away, I would tell you right now, he's an average to below average wrestler. Yeah, that's just how it is. As a tag team wrestler with Bret Hart Foundation, that was his role. He excelled at that.
Yes, he was a tag team wrestler.
Right. Anything outside of that, he was pretty freaking brutal to watch. Now, you were to go on to Twitter after he passed away, and everybody was like, he was underrated. He was great big man, blah, 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 all these things. It's like, no, he was not. I'm sorry. That's just not how he was. Right. He was not very good in a singles role at all, ever.
Right.
And then you have people saying that he was a great father. Now, obviously, I don't know the personal life of Jim Neidhart or Natalia, whichever. But the guy is documented to having a pretty bad drug issue during the 90s. He wasn't really there in anybody's life when he should have been. Now, he could have made up for that later on in life. But if you put the whole package together, he's probably not going to win the world's best dad award. I would just have to assume that.
Yeah, and it's fair. That's like a very fair criticism. I think it's more or less. I think the WWE forms those a lot of the time, though, because they don't want to end on bad terms with anybody. So I think they kind of put these guys in these certain lights to make good, and there you go. There's your happy ending, and like, let's move on quick.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't want to sound insensitive. I feel like I'm just being honest. The guy has a freaking collections now on the network.
Right.
This is the Jim Neidhart collection. Now, him being alive, he's never going to have that.
No.
Never. You're never going to sit there and be like, oh, I want to watch a Jim Neidhart match. But
right.
No, that's just not ever going to happen. Right. Ever. He passes away, and now they're essentially kind of trying to capitalize on, oh, here, check out all these Jim Neidhart matches that you never cared about previously.
Right. And it's funny, actually, that you bring this up, because I listen to the Jim Cornette Experience Weekly, which is Jim Cornette's podcast. And somebody actually just brought this up, that when people pass away and, they might have not been known to be the nicest of guys.
Yeah.
Everything's all forgiven.
Ultimate Warrior.
That's one of them. And Jim says no. Like, he agrees with the guy. It shouldn't be like that. If the guy was a fucking prick when he was alive, odds are I still think he's a fucking prick after he's dead.
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily Jim Neidhart fits in that category, but is he should he be a celebrated singles wrestler? No. Is the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, a legendary tag team? Absolutely.
Right. As a duo.
That's as far as it goes, in my opinion. And like Bob said, it's well documented by not only some of Jim's family, but Bret Hart and other wrestlers' accounts that he did have a lot of problems with alcohol and a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm glad him and his children and family were on good terms the last couple of years. But yeah, to kind of close the box and say, oh, he was the best and he was a great dad. See you later. Well, that's kind of WWE writing the history they want, So, but that happens all the time. I expect nothing less, but I don't even know how we got here. But yeah.
I know, but I don't want to dive out. I don't want to go into too much, but it's the same thing with like Brian Christopher. Now, I enjoyed Brian Christopher as a performer.
I think he was underrated.
I do, for sure.
I do.
But then you have people who, again, it's always on Twitter. They'll be like, "Oh, Too Cool was like the best tag team in the Attitude Era,"
which is they're not even. Yeah,
I wouldn't even say they're probably not even the 5th best tag team.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're not even in the conversation.
No, like there was a time when Rikishi and Too Cool as a group were like the most popular act. Like,
I would say Rikishi, Scotty 2 Hotty was a better team than Scotty 2 Hotty, Grandmaster Sexay.
That's probably that'd probably be a fair statement.
So,
but again, it's just like the constant like, oh, the guy's dead, this person's dead, so now I'm gonna just say, oh, hey, he was amazing. I haven't seen much of him in the USWA, and I do look forward to seeing that. But that seems to be when he really excelled. He was an entertaining act for sure when he was, eventually Too Sexy and then Too Cool with Scott Taylor or Scotty 2 Hotty, and the act there with Rikishi as well. But I mean, I don't know. It drives me nuts. It really does.
And I guess that's where you're alluding to where Mr. Perfect kind of falls. Where
Yeah, I mean he's a consistently average wrestler, I would say.
Right.
And his greatest, or some of his, obviously his 2 matches with Bret Hart are probably the only 2, or any match with Bret Hart, even dating back to '89,
right,
are really the only matches that people seek out of his to watch.
Right.
Is what I always hear from. I never hear about, oh, hey man, go check out him and Fatu from Raw. Like that never happens.
No.
Meanwhile, with Bret Hart, that kind of does happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like Henning or Mr. Perfect, it seems like he's more of like a character guy.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because even when he gets into WCW and is with the West Texas Rednecks,
yep,
the thing that got over there was rap is crap, stuff like that.
Right.
Not his in-ring work.
Well, and I think that's what people get confused. They try to remember.
It's always a false narrative, man. It's always a false narrative. If WWE posts a video saying Titus O'Neil is the greatest African-American wrestler, there's going to be 400 people in those comments being like, you're absolutely right. That's just how it is.
Yeah. Right.
It just drives me. It just bothers me. It just annoys me.
No, yeah, and I get where you're coming from for that, but I would agree with you. I would say Mr. Perfect should be more or less remembered for a character standpoint and not necessarily for in the ring, but a lot of people consider Mr. Perfect in ring to be one of the best ever. I don't know if I can say that. I mean, I think Curt Hennig was a very capable hand. I do think he's more than deserving of the Hall of Fame. But at the same time, it's definitely rose-colored glasses that you're looking through with him.
Yeah, that's always been my opinion on Mr. Perfect. I've even said it numerous times during this podcast, so that's nothing really new. I just want to get that off my chest.
And we talked about it before. I like Curt Hennig more than I like Mr. Perfect. AWA Curt Hennig.
Well, sure, yeah. Before he gets into New York.
Right.
All right. Well, coming out of that, we get to we go backstage to Joe Fowler, and he is with 123 Kid regarding his upcoming match with IRS. Kid says that he's really excited and yet nervous. He's really nervous and can hardly talk, more or less stumbling over his words. He's going to give 110%, and he hopes he can pull it off tonight. Fowler tells Kid to enjoy the moment. It was kind of weird to have Fowler kind of give like a pep talk to the guy, considering this is Fowler's first time ever being on WWF television.
Yeah.
He goes, just bear down and just go out there and have fun. Enjoy the moment. And the kid's like, thanks, Joe.
Well, yeah, and he even made mentions, it's my first SummerSlam and it's your first pay-per-view too, Yeah. So I thought that was kind of weird. I really liked the genuineness here from 123 Kid though. Like I bought into this interview that he was nervous. And I like that he said he was just going to throw caution to the wind and do what he can. He was going to try his hardest. I again think Sean Waltman as a talent across time is pretty underrated. He definitely fell off the wagon there in the later years of his career. But especially as 123 Kid, X-Pac, 6-Pac, very underrated. Very underrated.
Well, I totally buy into the promo here because it's probably really true. I mean, you got to think competing in front of 2,500 people in Poughkeepsie, New York, compared to almost 25,000 people in Michigan on pay-per-view. You're probably going to be a little antsy about it. But you are right about being underrated. even when he fell off the wagon,
Yeah.
he was still pretty, still pretty good.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, he's another guy. Yeah, quite underrated. And I don't have to say that before he dies. I can say that when he's alive, that he was pretty underrated.
Yeah.
We can then go to the ring where IRS is standing there, and he says that Michigan is known as the tax cheat city and not the motor city. Always finding a way to come up with new tax cheat jokes and stuff. That brings us now to our fourth contest of the evening. It's IRS taking on the 1-2-3 Kid. IRS starts off with a shoulder block and runs into a spinning heel kick for a 2 count. Kid is met with a knee lift to the midsection and lifts Kid into the air to drop him gut first to the mat. Kid drop kicks IRS on a second attempt for a near fall. IRS stops Kid with an elbow strike. He then dumps Kid over the top to the floor. Kid is knocked off the apron with a forearm strike. Kid lands on his feet on a slingshot attempt and almost pins IRS with a roll-up. IRS delivers an elbow strike and then an elbow drop for a 2 count. IRS keeps an abdominal stretch on Kid, but he can't quite get a submission. Kid drives IRS into the corner and delivers a few kicks. He then goes to the top rope. He goes to top rope and sending IRS into the corner. He hits a top rope moonsault, but can't get the 3 count. Of course, that's what he used to pin Ramon on Raw almost 2 months ago. Kid gets a roll up, but IRS kicks out. Kid connects with another kick, but again only gets a 2 count. IRS then decks Kid with a lariat and wins the match. I guess that's called the 10. Is it the 10? The write-off. I'm sorry. They call that the write-off. So that's IRS's finisher, is the lariat known as the write-off. Mm-hmm. Well, to me, this was a weird choice to go with, to have IRS win the match. I mean, Kid has a lot of momentum and buzz. And then losing to IRS, who hasn't really been presented strongly in a singles role. In fact, I mean, he's been in tag teams with DiBiase, losing them. But I'm taking this as an indicator that perhaps IRS is going to be getting a push in a singles capacity to close out the year. Of course, you've made it known that you're an IRS fan. Would you agree with him going over 1-2-3 Kid here, or would you have rather Kid continue some momentum here and win on his first pay-per-view?
Well, I am an IRS fan, and I'm down for an IRS push if that's what we're working towards. I don't necessarily believe that. But I don't think it was the right decision for IRS to go over here. With that said, this was my favorite match thus far on the card.
What?
Yep.
Better than Steiner's and Heavenly Bite. Oh my God.
For the fact that everything was clean, crisp, hard hitting, didn't drag, and their styles meshed pretty damn good. I thought we got a lot more than I ever expected in this match, and really, it wasn't even anything crazy. There's a lot of basic stuff. 1-2-3 Kid was whipping out stuff we've never seen before. IRS was hanging in there with him. The finish I thought was a little quick, just because it was literally a clothesline pin, 1-2-3. But it kind of got to the point on the show that everything, like match and segment wise, felt like it was on a time crunch, and I feel like that's kind of where we were at with this match. I don't think it suffered though. Like I said, I really enjoyed it for what it was. I don't know. Yeah, this is my favorite match on the card so far.
That fucking blows my mind.
Yeah,
Steiner's and Heavenly Bite was significantly better than this.
No, I did. I enjoyed it, but I don't know. I liked this match a lot.
All right. Well, I was not expecting that. I might as well just end the show now. After the match, Bobby Heenan kind of uses the monitor thing. I don't know what you want to call it. He draws on it.
Oh, the brain scan.
Brain scan. I'm trying to think of the damn name. You're right. Brain scan. Yeah. And I guess he kind of like freezes the screen when IRS is doing the write-off lariat. And he makes a 1040 joke.
Yeah.
Kind of just writes 1040 on it. So,
right.
He wrote it off. Whatever. Simple but effective. That leads us then to Todd Pettengill, and he's in the crowd, not with anybody drunk, but rather with Owen Hart and Bruce Hart. And
Bruce Hart might be drunk.
Well, give him the benefit of the doubt. They talk about Bruce and Helen. I'm sorry. They talk about Stu and Helen. I'm the drunk one. They talk about Stu and Helen not being there. Stu recently suffered an injury and Owen lets us know that it was in fact a knee injury. Owen says that they are here to make sure that Bret rules over Jerry Lawler. So as you would have guessed, this would bring us to our fifth contest, which would be Jerry Lawler against Bret the Hitman Hart. Or so we thought. See, Jerry Lawler comes out after Bret Hart is introduced. So this is the second introduction. Jerry Lawler comes out with a wrapped up knee with an ice pack and crutches, making his way down to the aisle. Pettingill comes over and asks, "What is going on, Jerry Lawler?" Lawler says that this was going to be the biggest night of his life and says that he hates Bret and his entire family. He can't wait to get his hands on Bret Hart's neck and snap it. And he hates
No, you're stuck on me there, Bob.
I'm assuming that Austin can't hear me right now because it's frozen.
No, yeah. Sorry, I lost you on he's gonna get his hands on Bret's neck and snap it.
Okay. He's gonna snap Bret's head. So Lawler hates the fans too. Lawler got off the plane, rented a limo in Michigan. He notes that nothing in the limo worked. He was coming off I-75 and an old lady pulled out in front of him, causing a 10-car pileup. Lawler, I'm sorry. I'm going to lose it here. Lawler had to pull himself out of the accident.
The fiery wreckage.
The fiery wreckage. There were nurses who said he had to go to the hospital. Lawler hobbled here on one leg, and he knows that he could beat Bret Hart with one leg. Right before he came out, the doctors wouldn't allow him to compete tonight. Lawler calls Hart a coward and says that Bret isn't going to get off lucky. He mocks Hart, saying he is sure that he'd beat up a cripple tonight. Yeah, I'm sure you would hit a cripple.
You would. You would.
Yeah, you would do that.
Yeah.
Lawler is going to allow someone to give Hart a beating that he deserves.
Yeah, he says he's got somebody to give Bret the beating of a lifetime because a ton of wrestlers in the back offered to take Lawler's place and beat Bret's brains out, he says. I thought this whole little segment here was hilarious. I couldn't believe
I was hoping you would love it.
I couldn't believe how long they were letting it go here because, like I said, everything up until this point felt really rushed and like, oh my God, we got no time for anything. Boom, boom, boom. No fluff. This was pretty funny for them to kind of slow the show pace up a little bit with Lawler kind of being a goof here. Yeah. The old lady with blue hair causing a 10-car pileup. Him having to pull his body out of the fucking fiery wreckage with a twisted up leg, he says, and then proceed to hobble the rest of the way, one leg to the arena, is fucking hilarious. That's so funny.
I'm just picturing Jerry Lawler with a twisted leg
with the crown,
walking miles down the road,
yeah,
just so that he could get to the arena to beat up Bret Hart.
Right. Speaking of hilarious, I was hoping Bret would take his glasses off and give them to one of his brothers, but he did.
Give it to Bruce.
I know.
Here you go, pal. Can't get you a job, but I can get you glasses.
I know. I was hoping, but he did not do that, unfortunately. But yeah. Up until this point, I was like, first of all, this is hilarious. Second of all, fucking A, we're not even getting a Bret Hart Jerry Lawler match. Like, how are they even going to pull that one off?
Right.
So I was already kind of okay with what was going on here.
Yeah, so as you noted, he brings out the court gesture, his own personal court gesture. It's Doink the Clown. Doink comes out with 2 buckets, and it's clear, because you can see it splashing around, that one of them has water in it. The other has confetti. Now he tosses the confetti onto some fans, and then he gets closer to Owen and Bruce. And you would think maybe he would fake throw the water. No. He tosses it right onto Bruce Hart. And Bruce is fucking livid.
He like, loses it.
He's like, you fucking clown. What the hell's wrong with you? He's like slipping on the water. He's like, I need to get my hands on Doink the Clown right fucking now.
He pulled the fucking barricade like at least I would say 3 body lengths back to get through the barricade.
He was pissed.
Oh, it was so funny.
It was really great though. So Bret comes over to the floor and he decks Doink as Bruce is trying to get involved on the floor, but is being held back by officials. Now you would think that Bruce would just, roll into the ring and kill the guy, but he's managed to be stopped by 2 referees.
Dude, and they are struggling with him. And the best part is, they struggle with Bruce Hart for the next several minutes in the corner of every camera shot. Like, Bruce is still fighting to get there, and they're like, no, fucking go back to your
he
seat.
was insistent on getting some heat here back on Doink.
It was hilarious. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was. Bret clotheslines Doink over the top of the floor to keep control as Lawler is watching at ringside. Now, while on the floor, Doink appears to get hit by Bruce. So Bruce stuck around to make sure
he's trying to get a shot in there.
So and then Doink is also decked by Bret. Hart sends Doink into the post shoulder first. Bret hammers away on Doink in the corner. Heenan says that Lawler fucking okay, hang on a minute. Okay. Heenan says that Lawler went to a school bus filled with children and bought them hamburgers. This is after the crash.
Yeah, on his way just to do a good deed.
And he doesn't he pretend to cry and bought them hamburgers?
Well, he barely gets it out, and then he's like, I'm sorry. And Vince is like, what are you doing? He bought them hamburgers.
It's just so good. Bret spins Doink around and punches him to the floor. Doink shoulder rams Bret from the apron and goes to the top rope. Bret crotches Doink on the top rope and then drops Doink face first to the mat. Doink had his feet kind of on the top rope and he just splat him right down.
Yeah.
Bret goes to the floor and then goes after Lawler, who hobbles away. Doink attacks Bret from behind to get control. Doink rams Bret face first into the ring steps and then decks Bret with the left hand. Heenan claims that Hart never wanted a divorce. The Harts never wanted a divorce because neither one wanted custody of the children, which may be accurate. I mean, there is 9 of them. Doink
12 Hart children.
Excuse me, 12, yeah. And basically an entire NBA team. So.
Yeah.
Doink comes off the top with an axe handle to drive Hart down to the mat. Doink continues with a knee breaker. He wraps Bret's leg around the ring post a couple of times, and he tries to get a submission victory with an STF. However, Bret's not a quitter. Bret comes off the ropes and is met with a knee left by Doink. Doink comes off the ropes with an elbow drop for a 2 count. Doink then goes back to a submission hold with the stump puller, and he uses the ropes for leverage. However, the referee sees the rope being used and breaks the hold. Doink scoop slams Hart and goes to the top rope looking for the whoopee cushion, but Bret is able to get his knees up. Hart takes Doink down with a side Russian leg sweep, and he heads to the middle rope to hit an elbow drop. Hart goes for the sharpshooter and has the hold locked in. However, Jerry Lawler recovers, and Heenan can't believe it. He's like, oh my God, it's a miracle. Lawler recovers from his incredible injuries from the previously mentioned car wreck. The children, I'm sure, are in the crowd with their hamburgers, thrilled to see that Drew the King Lawler is fine. He then proceeds to whack Hart, and I mean he whacks Hart over the head with the crutch.
Yeah, he wrapped it around Bret's head to the point where it snapped over his skull.
And you can see Bret collapse to the mat, and he's he knows that he probably got fucked up on that.
Yeah.
So needless to say, that causes a disqualification as Lawler continues to beat on Hart with the crutch. Bruce and Owen try to get in the ring.
Again, fucking bum rushing the ring, trying anything he can to get in there.
But they are held back by various officials. Lawler is quite proud of himself and helps Doink to the backstage area. Needless to say, I thought that was a pretty good match.
Me too.
Especially with what Lawler was doing leading into it. By far the most interesting angle on the show thus far. And the action wasn't bad. As a whole, it's probably the most entertaining thing I've seen on the show, even surpassing the Steiner Brothers and Heavenly Bodies to this point.
Yeah, I would say that's fair. I was also very confused why Lawler didn't actually have the match. Right. I wasn't sure if there was extenuating, extended circumstances or anything like that. But please continue, Bob.
Right. Well, because Jerry Lawler isn't going to get away free from the Hitman. See, that's because WWF President Jack Tunney comes out and says that the people paid to see Lawler wrestle tonight. Lawler is trying to get out of anything. He's like, what are you talking about? No, I'm hurt. I can't do it. Lawler is going to be forced to wrestle Bret Hart tonight. Hart is fighting through officials, trying to get to Lawler as Tunney has gone to ringside, and he's talking to Fink. Fink announces that if Lawler doesn't compete in a match against Bret Hart, that he will be banned from the WWF for life. Now, Lawler's reaction to that is like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? So then Hart breaks away from officials because it's, I guess, sanctioned. Now he can do whatever he wants. Lawler gets decked by Hart on the aisle. That leads us to our 6th contest of the evening. And it's Bret the Hitman Hart against Jerry Lawler. I might as well just continue on with this because it's my favorite part of the show.
And 2, really quick, because the way they kind of went into this part 2 of this match here, it almost reminded me of like an episode of Nitro. Like, so we're it's in the midst of chaos.
What's Nitro?
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Right.
Go ahead.
To be determined. There's at least 20 people on the entranceway. It's chaos. The cameraman's on the floor, like backpedaling, trying to capture all the action. Bret's dragging his opponent back to the ring, and just the whole way it kind of was filmed, and really even the feel of it, the chaos and the unknown, and oh my God, here we go, we're going into another match. It was good. It was really good.
Yeah, I do like the chaos. Can you continue on here? Hart hammers away on Lawler, delivering headbutts as they get to ringside. Hart decks Lawler with a bucket as well. The bell officially sounds, and Hart continues to bite Lawler in the corner. He backdrops Lawler, followed by a leg drop. Hart delivers a headbutt to the lower midsection of Lawler, and then he hits Lawler with a crutch on the floor. Lawler rolls to the outside, grabs his crutch, and hits Hart in the midsection, and then the face. Lawler continues to choke Hart with a crutch outside the ring. He beats on Hart some more and pulls Hart groin first into the ring post. Lawler comes into the ring with a crutch and has it behind his back. The referee is distracted by the Hart brothers once again. Bret gets jammed in the throat with the crutch, and Lawler continues to beat on Bret with right hands. Hart gets up and is pissed and hammers away on Lawler in the corner. Both men have lowered their straps, so you know shit's about to go down as Hart backdrops Lawler.
2 of the best, just as a side note here, 2 of the best punchers ever in the business, I think. 2 of the best.
I do like Bret's punches.
Bret's are probably my favorite.
Yeah.
And Lawler's are right there with being super, super good. And we've talked about this before. I think Sabu's punches are very good. Mm-hmm. There's a couple different guys, but yeah.
Hulk Hogan's really good at punching his own hand.
Right. Doing really slow fake punches.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a certain aggressiveness behind Bret's punches when he throws them.
Oh, he like whips his whole body.
Yeah, it's awesome. So there got to a point here where they're kind of trading strikes back and forth, and I was like, oh, okay, I like that.
Yeah, the intensity is definitely getting up at that point.
Yes.
Bret connects with a backbreaker for a 2 count, and then he spikes Lawler with a pile driver. I love a good pile driver, so I enjoyed that. Hart comes off the middle rope for another elbow drop and then gives Lawler the thumbs down. He proceeds to lock in the sharpshooter right in the middle of the ring, and Lawler submits. So Bret Hart won. He's the king of the ring. He's won the crown. He's validated his claims.
Right.
However, Bret keeps the hold locked in. Several officials come out to try and get Hart off of Lawler, but they can't do it. Actually, several officials have come out and tried to get Bret to let go, and he's not budging. I believe this is one of those one of the moments here, like the referee's like pulling on Bret's hair.
Yeah, it got to be like a couple solid minutes where Bret wasn't letting go.
Yeah, pretty long time here.
I even haven't noted that it was almost kind of really like ridiculously long. Like, what's going on here?
I think it's trying to really drive home the point of how much he hates Jerry Lawler. Even I actually didn't mind how long that the hold is locked in here for, because it's really driving home. Like he will keep that hold on all fucking day. He wants to break his legs.
He pretty much did. Like it was a long time.
Yeah, I actually didn't mind it. I thought a rare instance here that the longer kind of was the better to me in this situation.
Okay.
Owen and Bruce have gone into the ring, and Bret then finally lets go of the hold. It is then announced that Bret Hart has been disqualified for not letting go of the hold, and thus Lawler wins the match. Bret and Bruce get a few shots in on Lawler. Bruce actually decked Lawler while he was on the stretcher. But as Lawler's getting escorted off, out of the arena on the stretcher, he raises his arm up in victory.
Yep.
Knowing that he is considered the victor. He is, in fact, the king of the ring. Now, for me, this entire segment, you got two matches here. They both go about 9 minutes or so. So you're getting about 18 minutes worth of action. Then Lawler talking. So you're almost probably about a half hour of stuff going on here. I thought it was incredibly well done. I would want to see these guys wrestle again. Lawler and Hart. It pretty much solves nothing. If anything, it gives even more heat on Lawler, more of a reason for you to see Bret Hart really get his hands on Lawler. I really enjoyed the entire thing. I thought it was great.
I halfway agree with you.
You son of a bitch.
I really liked the little Doink Bret match. It came out of nowhere. I thought that the substitute really almost put more heat on Lawler than even having the match, because it's like, no, fuck you. I'm not going to wrestle you. I almost wish it would have ended with that. I'm glad it didn't, though, because what we got afterwards was pretty good too. It was more or less, it was pretty hardcore for 1993. A lot of weapon shots, a lot of not listening to the ref, holding the submission at the end. It wasn't quite the Crimson Mask that we needed. However, I think it was a decent substitute, for that. I don't know. I'm still not a fan of Lawler versus Bret.
Oh my god!
Honestly, I'm still
kidding
not.
Me. I thought this was a. Oh man, I don't know what I'm gonna do with you.
All things considered, I don't know. I wanted it to be kind of finished here. I wanted Bret to get the win, and Lawler kind of ride off into the commentary booth like he's been doing. I don't know. I don't know what it is for me, but I liked the Doink portion better. I liked that better.
I thought the whole thing was really well done.
Well, and don't get me wrong, it broke up the show very well. It's different from anything we've seen in the entire year leading up to this of 93. We haven't seen violence like that or like aggression like that before. So that was really good. I liked that portion of it, and Lawler delivered on that as well. I personally give more credit to Bret for making it work there, but
I think the credit. Oh my god! All right, I think the credit here goes to Lawler. His mic work before the Doink match or whatever is just great stuff.
No, it is. It's hilarious. It is. It's hilarious.
And then Doink and Bret have a good match. It's probably one of Doink's better matches that I've seen.
Yes.
And then the shot by Lawler with the crutch on Bret, you're like, oh shit, he might have just really got him. I mean, he did get him good, but you're probably thinking, oh my god, he might have just jacked up his face.
Right.
And then the intensity with Hart going at it, dropping the straps, Hart keeping the hold on for so long. You totally buy into the hatred that he has for him because he doesn't care about the victory. He wants to hurt Jerry Lawler.
Right.
I thought it was great.
No, I did. I liked it. Again, it's me. I don't know what it is. I don't know.
Your favorite thing on the show right now is IRS against 1-2-3 Kid.
Yeah, it is. It still is. Even after this, it still is.
I can't fucking believe this.
I don't know why. I don't know.
I know what you'll like even better than 1-2-3 Kid and IRS, and that's Ludwig Borga. He shares his thoughts on Detroit from earlier on in the day. He's in a bad part of town. And he says that Lex Luger better keep dreaming. He's disgusted that Luger would be proud of a crumbling building. He doubts that Lex Luger would stop in essentially the ghetto of Detroit. Borga says that America is falling apart. He insults welfare check users. And he says that tonight he's going to show Marty Jannetty and everyone else what Ludwig Borga is all about. He makes a weird face.
He's a fucking blockhead.
He's gonna turn into one of your fucking favorites. I know it.
How did we go from really, really good to
great?
Ludwig Borga.
To great is what you're asking.
An A.
So great. That leads us to our 7th contest of the evening. It is Ludwig Borga taking on everybody's favorite rocker, Marty Jannetty. Now, for some reason, I'll cover this one as well for you, Austin, because I know you're really looking forward to it.
Well, I just want to make note. Marty comes out in a great blue, purple, and gray Max Moon outfit.
Hey, drugs are a hell of a thing, okay? You know, sometimes it kind of messes up your eyesight in seeing the colors that you're choosing. It's fine.
Why wasn't Marty taking Adam Bomb on here?
That's a great question. And I was like, even the IRS thing, I know you enjoyed it or whatever. That's like, this is an example where I would have done Money Incorporated, Razor Ramon, and Kid, and you have Adam Bomb in this too.
Yeah, what the fuck? Where's Adam Bomb?
I don't understand.
I don't know.
Yeah. Adam Bomb is one of the, I don't know. Maybe they don't think he's getting over with the crowd. So
well, especially with Marty and Adam Bomb, like that's a way to get him over. Let Marty bounce around a little bit, have a decent match, and give Bomb the pin.
Yeah.
You know?
Seems like it's a pretty simple idea.
Right.
But hey, we don't write this shit. Anyway, so for some reason, Jenny gets near Borga. He's like talking shit to him. And then he just turns his back. He's like casually walking to the corner. And then like Borga shows that he has some level of intelligence because he just attacks him from behind with strikes in the corner. Like, I did not understand that start. Like, what are you doing, Marty?
Here's what I don't understand, right? First of all, Borga comes out to laughable music. It's fucking so stupid.
What are you talking about? It's great.
No, it's stupid. And then his outfit is basically like black lederhosen. So I don't know if I should be scared of him or ask him for a Ricola. Okay, this guy's a piece of shit.
Oh my God. You know what, man?
Ricola.
No. God.
Oh, shit.
Way to just fucking shit on Ludwig Borga.
Fuck this guy. Here's your Borga king right here.
This is my boy. This is my boy Borga. See you later, Tatanka. I found a new guy. Ludwig Borga. Borga continues with a clothesline as Jannetty comes out of the corner. He delivers knee strikes and then more right hands. Jannetty gets lifted into the air and then punched on the way down. Heenan suggests that Jannetty should have gave up during the introductions. It might have been a better match. Borga misses a splash in the corner, and Jannetty tries to fight back with a clothesline, but is stopped by a clothesline. At this point, I noticed that there's a sign that says Lardwig's Hate Section.
You know what? I was going to make note of that, but I didn't get it, so I didn't.
Well, I mean, Lardwig instead of Ludwig. I'm assuming they're calling him a Lard instead of Lud.
Or just making fun of his stupid name, like a Lardwig.
Well, I think it's like a lard. You know, like a piece of lard. So it's like Lardwig's Hate Section, that type of thing. Jannetty tries for a sunset flip, but Borga delivers a right hand to counter it. Borga locks in a bear hug, and Jannetty tries to fight out of the hold. Jannetty can't hit a power slam and is met with a clothesline, which turns Jannetty inside out, similar to what Fatu does.
Mm-hmm.
Borga tries to avoid a sunset flip with another punch, but misses. Jannetty delivers 2 super kicks and tries for a middle rope across body, but is caught and slammed. Borga then picks up Jannetty and puts him in the torture rack and wins the match by submission. Now, Austin almost fell down to the floor out of disgust with this. So I'll just share my thoughts real quick. Borga is mostly boring, considering he's literally just doing strikes the entire time. It has a few moves, like very limited offense.
Come on, he's a teenage boxing champion, dude. Come on.
That's kind of how he's being presented here. However, I can see him getting some decent heel heat just based on his heel character. You know what? Hang on a minute. You have no justification of being like, oh my God. You just basically said that IRS and 1-2-3 Kid is the best match on the show.
Goddamn right.
To this point.
Goddamn right.
You have a Steiner Brothers Heavenly Bodies match, and then the entire segment between Bret Hart, Doink, and Jerry Lawler. So, like, you're dismissed. Like, get the fuck out of here. Anyway, continuing on with my thoughts here, Borga might be able to do better with another brawler instead of a guy like Jannetty.
No.
But Jannetty did do a few things to make Borga look semi-decent. But the match was pretty boring.
Borga is shit.
Okay, moving on. I'm not talking to you anymore. This is bullshit. I'm muting you. Can I mute you? This is bullshit.
First of all, Fuck him for using the torture rack. Lex Luger should be using the fucking torture rack.
Foreshadowing. Foreshadowing.
Yeah, can you? No, just stop with that. Okay. Secondly, Ricola.
You know what? This guy's a fucking
I
asshole.
hope he wins the fucking strap, dude.
Borga?
All of them. Every belt.
Great. He'll be the next belt collector and be great.
Grand Slam fucking champ.
Yeah. So moving away from that classic of a match that Austin will probably rewatch dozens of times.
Another brawler. Get the fuck out of here. Oh, good match with another brawler. Yeah, fucking bullshit.
Yeah, the Brooklyn Brawler.
Yeah, right. My ass. How about that?
You're telling me right now you wouldn't buy a Ludwig Borga against Virgil or something?
Yeah, to fucking wipe with it and flush.
All right. You know what?
Holy shit.
I tried, guys. I
He
tried.
sucks. His promos suck. His look sucks. And his fucking little punches with his little MMA gloves is fucking, they suck too. And his white little boots that he wears. Oh, God.
I hate you. You're the worst.
Where's he from again?
Finland?
Oh, he can go back.
Yeah, Helsinki, Finland. Yeah.
Helsinki.
What Ludwig Borga
Oh, my
is
fucking
all
God.
about. He makes that face again. Well, needless to say, we'll probably continue to see Ludwig Borga. In fact, we'll probably see him at the next pay-per-view. And you're probably wondering, what's the next pay-per-view, Bob? Well, we get a video promoting the Survivor Series, which will be taking place in November. And as you recall, it is likely taking place at the Boston Gardens in Boston, Massachusetts. So
Yeah,
check out your local pay-per-view listings for that.
Yeah, their little hype video here. It's like, oh, Thanksgiving stuffing, squash, in their Survivor Series. The Thanksgiving tradition families look forward to every year. Survivor Series.
Yeah.
So they're hyping it up big time.
Right. And we all know Ludwig Borga will be there. So
Fucking A.
hide the turkey leg from him because he's probably going to snatch it from you.
He can go to Helsinki for all I care.
All right. That was clever. Oh, Helsinki. Great. Whatever.
More clever than fucking Ludwig Borga.
Ludwig. Not
Fuck
Lud.
Fuck him.
Ludwig Borga. Vince McMahon and Bobby Heenan are back at the commentary table, and they're promoting Survivor Series, which takes place on Thanksgiving Eve. The pay-per-view will go back to being mostly 8-man elimination matches. Survivor Series 92 had a bunch of like singles matches and whatnot. Heenan is trying to figure out the various situations, and then McMahon just cuts him off because it's just like, dude, you're really gonna...
Yeah, he was doing like Steiner math.
It could be 1-on-3, 3-on-2,
Yeah.
1-on-1. It could be one guy against this other guy against another guy. And McMahon's like, all right, just enough.
Yeah.
That leads us to by far the most heavily promoted match, a match that we've been looking forward to dating back to 1990, and we didn't even know that these characters existed yet. And it's a match that nobody knows the rules of, aside from a dead guy. He's the only one that knows the rules. That's right. It's the 8th match. It's The Undertaker against Giant Gonzalez in a rest in peace match. Now, I'm going to go rest in peace. I'm going to let Austin chit chat about this one. And then hopefully I'll wake up in time to give my thoughts. But I might be dead. All right. And here you go.
Oh, lucky me. All right. So basically, it was announced that this match, the whole kit and caboodle, the whole stipulation, was basically it's an ODQ match. There's no count out and there must be a winner. All right, so that's the big to do. That's the big rest in peace match. It's a fucking ODQ match. All right, big fucking deal.
Which has never been seen before in the World Wrestling Federation.
Yeah, oh, thanks. Perfect. Giant Gonzalez made his way to the ring, flanked by Harvey Whippleman. He was in his full airbrush again, so no fur on the suit, which, again, I think makes it look like shit. Whippleman looked like he was wearing Giant Gonzalez's suit because it was about 3 sizes too big for him. Typical. The lights then went out and the bell tolled for the Undertaker's entrance, and the crowd was pretty loud for him. They were definitely looking forward to seeing the Undertaker, and Vince was putting him over huge. Undertaker gives the new meaning to awesome, he says. And again, no pallbearer here, so it's just the dead man walking out. Undertaker turned Gonzalez around to start the match and just started chopping away at him immediately. He's going for his throat, even choking him in the corner. And Harvey broke the Undertaker's focus long enough for Gonzalez to hit him with some kicks, a headbutt, and one of like the clapping around the head moves to like ring his bell. He threw Taker out of the ring out to the floor where they traded strikes. So this rest in peace match wasn't anything special. Again, no DQ. They could have just said that from the beginning. Gonzalez resorted to using a chair on Undertaker, which in itself is ridiculous that the 8-foot-tall giant needs to use a chair. He threw Undertaker into the steps, knees first. So just kind of a lot of brawling on the outside of the ring here. Gonzalez then returned to the ring and taunted as Undertaker slowly made his way to his feet on the outside. Gonzalez met him on the outside and rolled Taker in to hit some more basic offense, which again, why are you rolling the guy in if there's no DQ or no count out? I don't know. Giant Gonzalez doesn't know. And Taker was trying to kind of crawl to the urn to get his power back, so to speak. I, at this point, was watching somebody buy pink cotton candy about 10 rows up on the hard cam for a good solid minute or two here while Gonzalez stumbled around the ring and stayed in control. That was more interesting to me. Out of nowhere, Undertaker's bell, like from his entrance, tolled, and the crowd began to kind of react to something. We see it's Paul Bearer. He came down to kind of be ringside. He had one of the black wreaths with him that he brought down. Harvey charged at Bearer, but Bearer clotheslined him pretty good. Kind of stood there and just put his arm out.
Well, that was pretty funny because Whippleman like took off his jacket, slammed it down, and was like, "Let's go!" And
like
then,
he was going to beat
Bear's
somebody's
like,
ass.
No.
Yeah.
It was one punch, and then Heenan was even like, "Oh, poor Harvey."
Well, it's funny because Heenan was hyping him up. He's like, "Oh, don't mess with Harvey.
Yeah.
He'll put a whooping on you." Then he gets fucking just leveled by Paul Bearer. So yeah, that was probably my favorite part thus far of the match.
Of the show.
No, you dick. Listen, you're not going to get over that match, are you?
I cannot believe right now that IRS 1-2-3 Kid is your favorite match on the show right now. It went 5 minutes.
Come on.
Get the fuck out of here. I don't think anybody listening to this is going to be like, yeah, dude, IRS 1-2-3 Kid, best match. And all of the listener feedback right now, that after this show, after we're done talking about it, none of them are going to be like, match of the night, 1-2-3 Kid, IRS. Guaranteed it.
Bearer was then able to get the urn. He hugged it and caressed it just like Bob is hugging, caressing the issue of me liking a match.
Yeah. I'm about to take advantage of it.
Gonzalez shouted down to Bearer. He then held the urn up so, of course, Undertaker could sit up and take advantage. Taker hit a flying clothesline to drop the big man to one knee. He hit 5 regular clotheslines first. Took 5 to drop him to the one knee. And then Taker went up to the top rope and hit his jumping clothesline from the top to keep the big man down for a 3 count. I really hope this is the last time we see Giant Gonzalez. Because Taker puts the wreath next to him as Bearer came in and held up the urn. They both taunted together while Gonzalez was down. I would say this was better than their Mania match, but that ain't saying shit. So, like, don't take that to heart. Following that, Undertaker and Bearer exited. Gonzalez began to argue with Harvey Whippleman, and then Gonzalez grabs him by the throat. Obviously, you know where this is going, but you don't know quite where it's going because Gonzalez struggles with hitting a clothesline on fucking Harvey Whippleman. Or yeah, a choke slam. I'm sorry, a choke slam. The jump for it was poorly mistimed, and Gonzalez barely got this 5'7" guy off the mat for a fucking choke slam. If he would have held him up with one arm wicked high in the air and drove him down, it would have been awesome. But instead, it went over like a fart in fucking church.
I would have to think that he was concerned about potentially like breaking him in half.
Well, it looked like shit.
It was bad.
It looked like shit. If that's their attempt of turning Gonzalez's face, I'd like to blow my own face right off.
Wow.
Just get him out of the company. Just write him off. He's done. Whippleman can go with him. Like, just take them both off.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you say about this match? I think it was a big old steaming turd.
Well, I mean, you're right in the sense that it's better than WrestleMania 9, but I mean, you can't get much worse than that. I mean, I don't know. The flying clothesline by Taker for the finish.
Oh, fuck off with that.
I know. It's just, I don't
Fuck
know, man.
off with
Gonzalez losing to that of all moves.
I want to see Taker fucking tombstone pile drive his ass.
I mean, I don't know if he could be able to pull it off.
Well, if he did, that would have been way better.
Yeah. Or like a choke slam off the top rope or something, you know?
Something.
I don't know. Something. That was just it's just really stupid. I kind of took it as just a mercy kill for the Gonzalez character. And then I saw him chokeslam Whippleman, and I was like, oh my God, this guy's going to win the 1994 Royal Rumble. If Yokozuna retains the belt, it's going to be Gonzalez, Yokozuna, WrestleMania 10. Book it right now. Gonzalez goes over. You got a new world champ, Johnny Gonzalez.
Well, that'll be the end of IcoPod then, folks.
Yeah. Well, might be the end of IcoPod if you thought IRS 123 Kid was the best fucking match on this show. That's pretty fucking ridiculous. Well, speaking of ridiculous, we go backstage where Joe Fowler, God, this guy is on the show every 20 minutes here, is with the WWF World Champion Yokozuna, Jim Cornette, and Mr. Fuji. Cornette tells Fowler to chill out and explains how the Heavenly Bodies were screwed over earlier in the night. The list would be as long as the Steiners' criminal record. Yokozuna isn't going to get screwed over tonight, though. Cornette is surprised that Fowler is employed for suggesting that Yoko would lose the title tonight. He says that Yoko shows no fear and no compassion. He wants Luger to get all the power from all the fans, and it's still not going to be enough to beat Yokozuna tonight. He says the time for talking is over. The time for action has arrived. Yokozuna finishes off by saying "Bonsai" right into the camera. Jim Cornette was a pretty good promo at the SummerSlam Spectacular. This is by far one of the best promos that we've seen, I would say, during this little project of ours. He makes it so easy to just despise Yokozuna, and he's just a much needed addition to the act, I would think.
Yeah, and I'd give a special shout out too to the camera work here. The slow pans to Yokozuna's face as Jim is just driving home the facts here really, really adds to it. And Jim even sets up Yoko very nice with the line that the whatever he says, the last thing Lex will hear is, and Yoko does the bonsai. So it was, again, very good. I liked the previous promo from last week a little bit better. But that doesn't take away from this one at all. Not to take away from it at all, because like you said, we needed Jim here a while back, because at first Yokozuna didn't need any talking done for him. His actions spoke for him. Then as we kind of progressed and the character was changed a little bit, I think for the worse, that's when Cornette was needed, kind of to make that transition as painless as possible. But now that he's here, I'm going to run with it, because it's turning the character back around. It's bringing the nose back up from the nosedive. So,
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Speaking of bringing back from the nosedive, our 9th contest of the evening is the Smoking Guns and Tatanka teaming up to take on the Head Shrinkers and Bam Bam Bigelow. Now, since I made you do that ridiculous no disqualification, but we're not going to call it no disqualification. We're going to call it a rest in peace match because, we couldn't think of anything clever.
At least nobody's organs were ripped out.
Yeah, right. That is true.
I wanted to rip my eyes out, but that's about it.
Yeah. We got to look at the positives. Austin, how about you take it away for this 6-man tag team match?
Oh, well, I'd love to, Bob, even though you said you were just going to do it, you dick.
I did not. I said that since you had to talk about that brutal match, I'll let you do this. So go ahead.
Oh, gee, what a gentleman.
Yeah, thank you.
Shh, I'm trying to go through the match.
Okay.
Smoking Guns came down in black jeans.
1, 2, 3 kid looked really good in that match, and IRS was like hitting him real hard. It was the best match of the night. All right, see you later.
Oh shit!
Should have been the main event.
All right, well that's why the last match was your favorite. So fuck off. The Smoking Guns came down in black jeans.
I never asked out a girl to a dance because
darker colored shirt.
My dad made me do chorus and band
compared to late.
Oh wait, that's the wrong show.
They fired off a few rounds and were ready to go here, just like Bob keeps firing off his fucking yapper over there. Tatanka made his way down next with freshly dyed hair, which I noticed. The Head Shrinkers made their way with Afa and Bam Bam and Luna all in tow. This one I was expecting to be, like we talked about last week, the dark horse of the night. Lot of badasses in the ring here tonight for this match. Bobby announced that Shawn Michaels has left the building and was asked by Shawn to make that announcement.
They've been doing that gag for a year and a half.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, they've I think they do that at every pay-per-view.
Well, he's like, I got something coming in. Vince is like, what are you talking about? Ladies and gentlemen, Shawn Michaels has left the building.
Yeah, they do that. He does that at WrestleMania 8. And Grills is like, who cares?
Yeah,
like, I'm just letting you guys know that's what's going on.
That's basically how Vince was. So yeah, that was a nice little add-in right there. As soon as the bell rang, Tatanka and the Guns rushed the opposing team, but they were all put down. So it was kind of a reversal fortune there to start the match off. Bam Bam and Tatanka were starting things off legally here. And Tatanka was getting the better of the bigger man, even hitting a decent back body drop on Bam Bam Bigelow, which others have struggled with as of late. They then hit each other with a colliding cross body, and next in was Fatu and Billy Gunn. They were kind of in there for a slugfest, and Fatu hit one of his kicks, but this was one of the first ones that we've seen that wasn't quite right on the button. It didn't look as good as it usually does. So I wanted to make note of that. Billy Gunn came off the top with a reverse bulldog off the top rope, specifically. Samu tagged in and mucked up the stun gun spot with Fatu on the outside. It was like Samu wasn't quite in position.
Yeah, it was definitely mistimed.
So again, I thought that was weird for them to kind of miss that. Luckily, Fatu was able to cover for him and draped Billy over the top pretty well. Bart tagged in next and was a house of fire with Samu. He ran into a big elbow, and then soon the fight was getting taken to him. So he came in hot and cooled off really quick. Bam Bam was in again and continued the onslaught on Bart Gunn. He got a near fall and tagged back out to Fatu. So again, kind of similar to the SummerSlam Spectacular, a lot of quick tag in and outs. Fatu hit an awesome power slam and tagged out to Samu. Samu bit at Bart's head and worked with him over in the corner, and then hit a double headbutt with his partner Fatu, who then came back into the ring. Bam Bam was again tagged in and hit a solid shoulder tackle. And Bart was basically getting decimated here as all three men continued to tag in and out very frequently and just work him over. Tatanka rushed in, which allowed the Head Shrinkers to hit another double team as the ref was distracted with Tatanka. And Luna and Afa had yet to play a part in this match, which I was kind of expecting something to happen here, and it hadn't yet. So that was of note as well. Back in the ring, Bam Bam and the Head Shrinkers were working very well together. Bam Bam missed a splash in the corner, allowing Bart to tag out to Tatanka and then clean house. He kind of woke the crowd up once he was tagged in, kind of got him back into it. He went to the top rope and hit a really nice crossbody for a near fall. Bam Bam recovered quick, though, and Tatanka went on his war dance until Bam Bam hit a perfect enziguri and like killed him mid war dance. Yep. Shut him down immediately. Samu then followed that up with a falling headbutt off the top, and Fatu nailed Billy with a savate kick, much better than the first attempt in the earlier part of the match here. Tag format then broke down, and the three men put a beating on Tatanka, finishing it with a triple headbutt. Every heel then went to the top rope and attempted a dive on Tatanka, but of course, he was able to move and avoid all three. In the midst of the chaos, Billy body vaulted out onto somebody on the outside, and Tatanka got a backslide pin on Samu. Another nice little match, I thought. A lot of quick action. I liked the couple points of chaos here. I think they delivered with this six-man tag. Finish came quick, but I think that was probably more or less they were running short on time. All things considered, decent little match. Not as crisp as it could have been, but still pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Kind of a way to cool down the crowd probably before we get to the main event. But usually when they try to cool down the crowd, you would think they would have a match like IRS or 1, 2, 3 Kid. You know, something that's not really that good. But instead they put on a pretty good six-man tag match and some pretty quality action. But again, I thought like IRS 1, 2, 3 Kid, if you're gonna have that match, you'd probably be here. Just fill the card.
That should have been the fucking main event.
Get the fuck out of here.
You can suck on both of my nuts.
Whatever. Anyway, this match should have plenty of consistent action, and I'm actually pretty happy to see the positive words you're saying for Tatanka. I think hell is frozen.
Yeah, well, I take it back. You fucking Helsinki devotee, okay?
Okay. IRS 1, 2, 3 Kid match of the year for 1993. Get the fuck out.
Damn right. Top ballad, bitch.
What a fucking asshole. You're the worst person I've ever met.
Fuck Jerry Lawler.
Ooh, okay, yeah, great. Well, needless to say, I won't be like a fan of Jerry Lawler come like November. When he does something real bad, allegedly.
Oh, I'll probably like him by then.
Well, have that documented here. Anyway, so continue on here. It's the biggest part of the show, so it's quite a bit going on here. Joe Fowler.
Holy
my
fuck.
God, he must have been a Make-A-Wish kid or something because he's on this show all the fucking time.
He's on the show more than the fucking superstar.
He really is. He must have been dying or something because I hope he's not dead because if I have to go on Twitter and be like, Joe Fowler was the greatest.
Who is he? Is he like a personality or?
He's like an infomercial guy.
Oh, okay. All right.
And it's funny because a couple years ago I was watching TV at like 5 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it, I'm like, is that Joe Fowler? And he was like trying to sell some like window or some bullshit.
Oh, that's
funny.
funny.
I was like, what the fuck? Where's 1, 2, 3 Kid?
That's good.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Joe Fowler is outside with the Lex Express. He's with the bus driver. He's with Hank Carter, who is watching the event on a monitor in the bus.
Ready to go.
Why he is not watching the show like in the arena, like in the crowd, blows my mind. This shows you how much Lex Luger cares about his fucking bus driver.
He's like, yeah, you sit on the bus and I'll get out and flex and you stay here. And if we drive by the fucking Washington Memorial, you better pull over so I can flex in front of it.
Yeah.
Then you sit here and I'm going inside. Fuck you.
I can just picture Hank being like, hey, Lex, can I get a ticket? He's probably like, fuck off, Hank.
No.
What have you done for me the last, 35 days?
Did you iron my Zubaz like I asked you? No.
Fucking Hank. Carter puts over Luger as being a fantastic wrestler and says he's great with children, especially. Well, Jerry Lawler must have heard that because he tried to prove Luger wrong on that one. Carter recalls visiting a children's hospital in Philadelphia and how excited they were to see Luger visit them. Fowler asks who Carter likes to win the match tonight. Of course, Fowler notes that he's allowed one stupid question in the pay-per-view. So, of course, Carter says Luger. I'm picking Lex Luger.
I really liked that he also slipped in there that Lex Luger is one of the most genuine wrestlers of all time. And he says that word genuine. I was so hoping that this guy wasn't in on the gag. And when this fucking jabroni asked, oh, who do you want to? Oh, Yokozuna is probably going to win. That would have been fucking awesome.
If he was just like, yeah, no, I mean, Lex is a great guy.
Yokozuna's pretty big and scary. He'll probably win.
Lex is a great guy, but he's not fucking going to be Yokozuna.
That would have been awesome.
How quickly would they have cut away from that?
No. And they would have like tilted the camera down like, no, but he didn't mean that. Oh, shit.
They tilt the camera down. They get a different bus driver in there. Like, all right, Hank, what do you think? Luger.
Oh, you're the wrong fucking guy. Doesn't matter what you think. You're a bus driver. Back to you, Vince.
And that's why you didn't get a ticket to the arena, pal.
That's right.
Back into the arena, Todd Pettengill is in the crowd, and he's with a fan named Bruce. No, it's not Bruce Hart.
Fuck.
This Bruce is in fact from Michigan, and he apparently thinks that this is WrestleMania 9 because he's wearing a USA toga. And Todd goes, oh, how did you get this? And Bruce is probably like early to mid 20s, and he goes, well, my mom got this stuff from Sears. She made it for me.
Yeah, it's what does he say? A pillowcase and a bed sheet sewn together.
Yeah, got from Sears. The fans are chanting for USA, which probably confuses Luger backstage because remember he said UFA
right
on Raw, so he probably doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
Vince McMahon and Bobby Heenan talk a bit about the main event. Heenan jokes that he thought it was Jimmy Carter driving the bus. That leads us now to Howard Finkel. He is in the ring and he introduces a man to sing the Japanese national anthem. Of course, that goes over very, very well because he's singing the national anthem and the fans are just like not giving him a chance in hell, booing him.
The fucking guy sounded like he was making up words as he sang. He's like shaking like a leaf. He's squealing, throwing tone all over. Like put it this way. If that was the Japanese national anthem, it was not a good rendition of it. And I didn't need to know to speak Japanese to know that it wasn't good.
Yeah, he might have been a guy who was not in on the gag. And he's probably wondering 25,000 Americans are booing him. He's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. What is going on?
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
What's going on? Randy Savage and Aaron Neville come out with the American flag. At least Savage has better gear on this time around. Aaron Neville is here to sing the American national anthem. Now, Neville sings it, and the entire time he's singing it, I'm laughing. His eyes are closed. He sounds like a teen girl.
Like a dying fucking cat.
Yeah, he hasn't hit puberty yet or something. I don't know what's going on.
Not only that, did you notice the big turd of a mole over his eye?
Yes.
It was fucking huge. Okay, so that's all I'm looking at while he's belting it out here.
Yeah.
He's going, oh, bombs bursting in.
Yeah, it was bad.
Fucking
I think I even mentioned how like there was like a rendition of the national anthem I feel like that we've dealt with before, and I was like, oh, don't you worry, we've heard worse. This is what I'm referencing. Yeah,
it's bad, and it was so bad to the point where I know I heard boos in the crowd from some people. Like they were booing his rendition.
Well, it's probably the Japanese guy. He was probably like, "Oh, I did bad, boo."
Yeah, right. Like, well, that's what Bobby says too. Oh, I like the Japanese version better.
No, they were both pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, they were horrible.
Savage predicts that Luger will be the next WWF World Champion. So of course Luger comes out to some, the same basic USA song, but yeah, he has some decent attire on at least. I thought.
Wait, is that a joke or you're serious?
No, I thought it was pretty decent.
No, it looked good. I don't like the loincloth look to it.
I don't know what that is. Yeah, him and Tatanka, they seem to love that. So
yeah, I don't like that. Oh, quick side note too.
Yeah.
Do you have noted down what Yokozuna's build weight was?
I did not.
He is billed here at 568 pounds. Almost 70 pounds since WrestleMania.
Jesus Christ, that's a lot of rice.
So I tend to actually believe that. I don't know if that's actually inflated or not, but I would believe that he gained 70 pounds since WrestleMania.
When do you think he'll hit 600? If they were to ever do that.
Before the end of the year.
Before the end of the year?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay. I can see that. I would say, yeah, right. End of the year. I could see that. All right. I added a lot to that conversation. Main event is WWF World Champion Yokozuna defending against everyone's American hero. He was shy, but he's not anymore. He took band or chorus, never asked out a girl, only when they asked him out to a dance. Never played it down in the NFL. Played in the CFL for a couple years. He only took steroids when they were legal. Not anymore. Lex Luger.
To be fair, he did look trimmer here, I thought.
Well, Ico Pro will do that to you.
Right. That's what it was.
The match here starts. They have a stare down in the middle of the ring for a few moments. And Mr. Fuji tries to walk up from behind on the apron for a sneak attack, but Luger, seemingly sensing probably leftover rice on Fuji's mustache or something, turns around. And Fuji's like, I wasn't doing nothing. Yoko tries to sneak attack as Luger is distracted by Fuji and fails at doing so. So Luger delivers several right hands and an elbow strike to stagger the champion. Luger avoids a scoop slam. Luger avoids a scoop slam and gets elbowed. Yoko comes off the ropes but misses a leg drop. Lex focuses his attack on the left leg of Yokozuna with several kicks and then kicks the middle rope to drop Yoko to the mat. Luger comes off the ropes to hit an elbow drop for another near fall. Yoko scoop slams Lex to stop his momentum. He then misses an elbow drop coming off the ropes. Lex continues to hammer away on the champion in the corner and delivers several stomps. The crowd is chanting USA for Luger, which again is probably confusing to Lex because, UFA.
Right. Of course. And speaking of confusing for Lex, I feel like Lex at this point of the match, and mind you, we're early in, he doesn't know what to do with Yokozuna.
Yeah.
Like they're obviously walking and talking here.
Because he's heavily on the strike side too. Because he doesn't have to do with the big guy.
Yes, because I noticed it specifically when they were in the corner here and Lex was just kind of stomping him and kicking him. He would pull away and it's like, what the fuck am I doing? I don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
So
Luger sends Yoko hard into the corner and follows up with a running clothesline. He continues to hammer away on Yoko, but the referee stops him. Yoko takes advantage with a throat thrust to drop the challenger. Yoko keeps control in the corner before being backed away by the referee as well. Fuji comes up from behind, and Luger is able to avoid having powder tossed into his eyes, or salt, whichever. Luger hammers away on Yoko several more times and staggers the champion. He tries for a power slam, but Yoko doesn't go up for it. Yoko drops Luger with a savant kick and then taunts the fans. Lex is on the floor trying to regroup, and Cornette is sneaking over towards the challenger, but doesn't do anything. Yoko headbutts Luger off the apron and goes to the floor to continue his attack, choking Luger with a wire, like a camera wire.
Mm-hmm.
Yoko chops Luger against the post. Yoko chops Luger against the post and tries for a splash, which he hits against the post. Yoko grabs a steel chair, but misses the chair shot. Lex fights back with right hands and rolls Yoko back into the ring. Luger comes off the middle rope to hit a double axe handle to stagger the champion. Lex goes to the top rope and delivers another double axe handle, but Yoko doesn't go down. Luger goes to the top again and hits a flying forearm to drop Yokozuna. Luger doesn't quickly go for the cover, and as a result, he only gets a 2 count. Lex clotheslines Yoko from behind and almost gets a 3 count. Yoko misses a clothesline and they collide following a double clothesline in the middle of the ring. Cornette gets on the apron, and Yoko decks Luger with the salt bucket, which he got from Fuji. Of course, the referee didn't see any of that. Yoko slowly crawls towards Luger, only to get a 2 count. Yoko chops Luger against the ropes a few more times. Yoko plants Luger with a belly-to-belly suplex, and McMahon thinks that it's over, But Luger's able to kick out at 2. And McMahon's like, oh my God, he did it. He kicked out. He still has it. Yoko chokes Luger over the middle rope. And then the champion plants Luger with a back suplex. He has the cover, but Lex is able to kick out again. At this point, Yoko locks in the ever dangerous nerve hold to bring the match to a complete halt.
And I literally just have here, fuck. Like, not this. Come
Every
on.
time. Anytime he locks that in, you know that it's going to be a while.
Yeah.
Luger gets to his feet and elbows out of the nerve hold. He tries for another slam, but Yoko lands on top for a 2 count. Yoko comes off the ropes and delivers a leg drop, which he thinks is enough, but Luger again kicks out at 2. Luger is dragged to the corner, and Yoko goes for the bonsai drop. Is able to avoid it, and Yoko hits the canvas. Yoko rams Luger face first into the top turnbuckle, but Luger fights back with more strikes. Yoko chops Lex in the corner and charges across the ring, missing a running backsplash. Luger proceeds to scoop slam Yokozuna. Fuji gets on the apron and is decked by Luger. Lex takes off his protective pad on his forearm and nails Yoko with it, and that sends Yoko to the floor. Luger decks Cornette off the apron as well. The referee begins to count, and Yokozuna is counted out. Luger wins by countout. Now, the crowd doesn't erupt because they seemingly know that he didn't win the title.
Yes.
Plus, it's his only shot, and he didn't win the title. So naturally, a few guys come out, and they celebrate with Luger as if he had won the title. But it doesn't seem to be connecting with about 75-80% of the crowd. He's lifted onto the shoulders of the Steiner brothers. Tatanka and Randy Savage are there as well. Balloons come down from the rafters. McMahon mentions how Luger will get a rematch and win the title, seemingly ignoring the clause in the contract that said he wouldn't get a rematch. This is the definition of an over celebration.
It was such a weird atmosphere because you can totally tell, first of all, the crowd's super confused because they're literally promoting this as if Lex just won the belt, but the crowd knows, like you said, he didn't. So it's a count out victory here, which I guess at least they didn't get Lex, pinned down to the mat, which was probably for the better. He doesn't win the belt, which again, probably for the better. But just the whole balloons and the whole everybody coming out of the locker room to celebrate, like really, Lex didn't beat Yoko. Yoko just couldn't get back in the ring. Really, really weird feeling. I was confused.
I thought it was awful. The celebration part is just brutal to watch because it's like Lex, you didn't win. You didn't win
I felt bad for Lex Luger.
Yeah, I mean, all this promotion, all this hype, you win by count out, and you're supposed to celebrate like you just won the world title.
Yeah,
and almost everybody in the crowd knows that you didn't. It's like a half-hearted, like, oh, hey, you won.
Yeah,
I think right here, Lex Luger as a top babyface is done.
He almost has to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I understand like the title changed hands at WrestleMania. It changed hands at King of the Ring. But if you invest all this stuff into Lex Luger, you have to put the belt on him. You just have to.
And not only that, he almost gets pigeonholed with like the gimmick of death.
Yeah.
Like it's either all or nothing with that. And if it's not all, then it's nothing. Going back to the match too quick. Very clunky. Better, I thought, than Hogan Yoko. Especially not seeing the flash paper and all that bullshit.
Oh, no, the match was okay.
It was okay.
It's probably better than I even thought it was going to be.
Right. I mean,
but the aftermath celebration kind of hurts the overall viewing of it, though.
Oh, completely. Yeah, completely. I think the overall feeling of them not really knowing what to do with each other was definitely obvious for me. And just the whole it was like surreal. They were doing all this shit, all this balloons, this confetti, this music, the boys coming out of the back, the waving of the flag. Like, Lex didn't do anything. He didn't accomplish anything. Nothing happened. Nothing changed. On Raw, Yokozuna's still going to be your champion.
Yeah, and I think I scoffed when Vince McMahon was like, "Oh, he's going to get a rematch and he'll be the WWF World Champion." It's like your major angle right now is that he can't get a rematch. This was his only opportunity.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
So you're insulting the fans, like right there. Like, no, Vince, he's not going to get. This is his only opportunity.
Right. I was just, I don't know, very confusing main event. And
if I have to deal with months of Lex Luger petitioning for another shot, I'm going to ram my head against this table that I'm doing this podcast on right now, because he was like, I only need one. He better not ask for another shot.
That was the whole point. I only need one match. I don't even care that you put that little clause in there. I ain't going to need a rematch.
It's not going to matter because I'm going to beat you.
Right. It's rough. Yeah. That's rough. Speaking of rough, do you want me to kind of segue us into our video package we get here?
Well, yeah. So the show ends with a music video that you mentioned here, but I think they edited out the "You Are My Hero" song because it was like a rock music. I don't think that's how it was in the original airing of it.
Yeah, it wasn't. "You Are My Hero" was not playing. It was. I want to. Oh man, the chorus was something different. It was like.
No, but like even the beat and everything was not.
No, yeah, it was a different song. It was a different song.
I don't think that's how it ended. I could be wrong. I don't think I have the original copy. I mean, I have it probably one of my binders or whatever, like the original pay-per-view broadcast.
Yeah,
but I would have to think that "You Are My Hero" was the end of that.
Probably.
I would have to think.
Yeah, probably. So just to kind of break down this piped in video here really quick, we get flashes of the USA landing on the moon, the waving flag, a kid with an American flag, a soldier, JFK making a speech, MLK making a speech, Washington and Lincoln statues are shown, and Lex slamming Yokozuna on the Intrepid. The Lex Express zooming by in the desert, through farm hills, just coast to coast. Lex staring out of the window very dramatically, hugging an American flag pillow as he's taking a nap in his American flag pants. Meeting kids, just general traveling up and down the road. It's very, put it this way, once Luger passes away, this would be a perfect video to play because that's what it felt like. It felt like a tribute video. It was pretty corny. But,
well, this is arguably the death of his WWF career, so I guess it was
right. Well, and that's why it was pretty appropriate.
Yeah.
So coming out of that, we got continued shots of him at the Children's Hospital, meeting kids, fans walking next to his bus. Flashes of the match from tonight, from SummerSlam itself. Like I said, it was more or less a tribute package of the journey since the Intrepid Slam, basically. Back in the arena, though, Yoko laid at ringside covered with red, white, and blue balloons. And Bob, if you'd like to take over from here, we go to the backstage area.
No, you can continue.
Oh, all right. Well, I will. In the backstage area, we see Lex celebrating with Macho Man and the Steiners and that sort of thing in the locker room. And fuck you for making me say this crap.
Well, fuck you for saying that IRS for 1, 2, 3 was the best match.
Lex basically says here that it was an honor and a privilege to wrestle for America and for the WWF title. All of a sudden, Ludwig Borga bursts into the room. And I was just like, you motherfucker. Couldn't get any worse, and then it fucking does. Because Borga says he would crush Lex Luger just as America is crumbling piece by piece. And this is if Lex ever chose to step in the ring with him. That was it. That's all he said. So he's basically laying down a challenge.
Right.
To Lex Luger.
Sounds like the house show main events for the next 3 months.
I was literally like looking at the screen as the screen went black. And I was like, Bob, you son of a bitch. Because you were probably jacking off to the thought of Ludwig Burger beating Lex Luger's ass.
The only thing that's missing from this is that it would be for the WWF World Championship.
Thank God it ain't.
Well, that's why it's not the best thing I've ever seen.
That's it. That's SummerSlam, folks. That's how we went off the air.
Yep. Yeah, so needless to say, I would say I enjoyed most of the show. And for what we've seen thus far, I think this is the best pay-per-view.
It was the best pay-per-view
in
of the year.
1993, yeah.
Yeah. It was.
You got Bret, Lawler, 6-man tag, Steiner Brothers, and Heavenly Bodies. Those were all pretty solid matches. I mean, Razor and DiBiase isn't bad, but those are probably the top 3 matches. The only real bad match was Gonzalez Taker, but that was kept relatively short. Plus, I mean, the brutal aftermath of Lex Luger, Yoko just being over the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
But overall, I would watch this again. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I would say so. And especially for, again, a show that I've never seen any of it. I know I've never seen any of it. I did. I liked it. I, again, thought it was probably the pay-per-view of the year so far, even though I feel like we say that every time with every passing pay-per-view.
Well, we knew that WrestleMania 9 was not the best pay-per-view.
Right. And I was going to say, they've just gotten progressively better and better since WrestleMania, which is nice. I'm glad to see that we're progressing forward and getting better and better stuff. That was definitely the case here with SummerSlam. Most of the matches, even the ones that didn't really matter, were pretty action-packed and stayed almost at a rushed, good, solid pace. None of the matches really dragged on too long, I didn't think.
Mm-hmm.
The Bret Doink Lawler stuff probably got the most time, but it was time very well spent, I thought. I still think the match of the night was Kid versus IRS.
There's no fucking way.
It was just quick, tight, all action.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I liked it.
If anybody's wondering, mine would either be the Steiner Brothers and the Heavenly Bodies or the entire Bret Lawler Doink segment. Those are by far the 2 best things. Not IRS and 1, 2, 3. This is ridiculous.
Oh, there was another good match too. What was the other good match?
The 6-man.
The 6-man was pretty good. Yeah. I would say for me, like the Bodies and Steiners were probably up there too. I really liked that match a lot.
That was good. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I like that match a lot.
Mr. Perfect Shawn Michaels was a major disappointment.
Yeah, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
in
would
case
say
you were
so.
wondering, because you were talking about the time here and how nothing really went on that long. I'm going to give you the times in order of the match order here. So Ramon DiBiase went 7:32.
Okay.
Steiner Brothers Heavenly Bodies went 9:28.
Okay.
Michaels Perfect went 11 minutes and 20 seconds.
Oof, yeah.
IRS 123 Kid went 5:44.
Right.
Bret Doink went 9:05. Bret Lawler went 6:32. Borga Jannetty went 5:15. Taker Gonzalez went 8 minutes and 4 seconds.
Oh, it felt way longer than that.
Yeah, it did. Smoking Guns and Tatanka against Bigelow and Head Shrinkers went 11:15. And Yoko Luger went 17:58.
Yeah, that felt longer than that too.
I would have thought Luger Yoko was like 20.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I would say out of all of them, that one dragged the most easily.
Well, it's a damn nerve hold.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. Regardless, again, I think the main event with Yoko Luger was better than the main event Yoko Hogan, which isn't saying much, but it should be made a point to be noted. What else did I have here? Just as far as, realistically, the show could have been a lot worse. I expected it to not be as good as its lead-in, which I think it was. I think it was better than the SummerSlam Spectacular.
Yeah, I would say so.
So I was pleasantly surprised there. Moving forward, it's going to be really, really interesting. I don't know.
Well, so coming out of this show, So let's just kind of prepare ourselves for, let's say, the fall. Okay, what we could potentially see here in the fall, and then we'll get into some feedback from various listeners and people on message boards. So Razor Ramon is probably being positioned as the next upcoming upper mid card babyface. That would be a safe presumption, correct?
Yeah.
IRS, I'm assuming, is going to get a pretty big push as well. I mean, kind of going over 1, 2, 3 Kid. I would assume there as well.
Yeah, probably.
Could you see IRS challenging for the IC title?
No.
Like, you wouldn't buy into that. So are you saying he's like a straight mid-card guy, like he'll just have these random feuds? Or could you see him against, whoever would be like a Marty Jannetty? Let's say Marty Jannetty was the Intercontinental Champion. Could you see him facing Marty Jannetty for the Intercontinental Championship, or Shawn Michaels, whatever, or Razor Ramon?
It's so hard because I want to say yes, but I don't think he should.
Okay. That
spot should probably be reserved for, like you said, the younger guys, Mm-hmm. I think IRS, there's stuff new that you could do, but not nearly as much as a guy that, say, an Adam Bomb you could fill that spot with.
Right.
So could I buy into it? Yes. I could buy into him challenging for the IC belt. Should he? Probably not.
Okay. Safe to assume that Jerry Lawler, Bret Hart will continue to have some big matches going into the fall. Borga clearly being primed for a main event run with Lex Luger.
Ugh.
Both of us are pretty excited for that.
No.
Giant Gonzalez is gone from the company, has been noted, or should be gone fairly soon. So
wait, is this his last appearance?
I don't know. I know it's his last pay-per-view for sure.
Oh, thank God. Yeah.
Yeah. The Undertaker, though, that kind of leaves him in limbo. Are we going to get a continuation with Mr. Hughes?
I hope so.
Is there going to be something else going on? And then, of course, Lex Luger. Is he going to get another title shot? He said he'd only need one shot. He failed. I mean, he won, but he didn't pin him. He didn't make him submit, so he failed.
Right.
So kind of a rough idea of where we could be going for the fall.
I don't know. I don't think Lex is going to get a rematch. I don't think so. And if he does it's they're not going to build it up huge. How could you?
You already did.
Yeah. Like, how could you?
Let's get the bus again.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you said, if they're smart, if they're smart, they're going to head up to Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And they're going to knock on Bret Hart's door and be like, excuse me, sir. Can you please be our top babyface again? Because we were sadly mistaken.
Right. And then Bruce Hart will be like...
He'll be clawing at the door to hit somebody.
Yeah, he'll be like, wait, did you say Bruce or Bret?
It's like, where's the fucking clown?
They'll be like, Bret. And he'll be like, Bruce? No, Bret. No, I am Bruce.
Right, I'm here.
Yeah, we're saying Bret. No, it's me, Bruce. I'm right here.
Yeah, it's me right here. Yeah.
And they'll be like, no. Yeah, where's that fucking clown? That goddamn water. That's your WrestleMania 10 main event right there. Bruce Hart against Tony the Clown.
If they were smart, it would be.
Yeah.
That's a moneymaker right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a really weird next couple of weeks leading up to Survivor Series for sure.
Yeah. So that'll be our next marching on to Survivor Series. But before we get to Survivor Series, I got plenty of reactions here. Various listeners and guys on message boards. And I'm going to read through them here as quickly as I can, and we'll discuss kind of what they got going on here. So Mike Campbell, one of our regulars, shared that he was watching Superstars the following Saturday. There was this big introduction in Japanese with subtitles talking about SummerSlam. And at the very end, the voiceover yells out, Lex Luger. And then it cuts to Jim Cornette, and he yells, blew it. That's pretty funny.
Man. Poor Lex.
Yeah, really. Matt Petticord, who has his own blog at pdrwrestling.net. That some bitch got me started in the whole wrestling review thing, so I blame you for all of this. He says that SummerSlam 93 is pretty underrated and often overlooked. Steiner's and Bodies had a great match. You got to see the blow-off between Shawn Michaels and Mr. Perfect. Loved the Bret Hart matches. The six-man tag was pretty dope. and Yoko worked hard for a 600-pound man. SummerSlam 93 is a real fun show, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of them casual watches where you can just sit down on the couch, not worry about really critiquing a whole bunch of stuff. We did that for you. It is. It's a fun, easy watch for something if you've never seen it before. Out of all the pay-per-views of 93 so far, that one's, I would say, go out of your way to watch because it's a lot of different stuff and probably stuff you've never seen before.
Yeah, I would say it's one of the easier shows that I've ever had to write about.
Yeah.
Especially thus far for IcoPod. So
yes.
Corey Guns from the WFIGS board says that, granted, I was only 8 at the time, but I thought it was a good show. Even going back and watching it now, it's enjoyable. Bret Doink is good, as was the Lawler angle. Steiner Brothers' Heavenly Bodies was solid, perfect, and HBK was just quote-unquote off.
Yeah.
It still makes no sense to me that Luger didn't get the title here. It was literally the theme of the show. If you wanted to put Yoko over as a huge heel, just have him win somehow. But the count-out finish and then celebrating like Luger had just become president was stupid. Luger should have gotten the belt.
I agree. I'm sorry. I agree.
Yeah.
He probably should have.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm a Bobby Heenan guy from the same board. Says that it was a decent SummerSlam, but that's about it. The Bret King Doink stuff, Steiner's bodies were the main highlights for me. HBK Perfect had so much potential, but fell flat. Yeah. Still to this day, I don't get why they didn't give Luger the belt. Pushed all summer long, and in the end, he fails to win the belt. Shaking my head. I've said this many times, but they should have never axed the narcissist character. I agree with him on the narcissist thing. I thought that was the best version of Luger.
Right. It definitely had more like long-term potential than American Hero Lex Luger for sure.
Well, I would think the Bret Luger angle coming out of WrestleMania 9 was the moneymaker.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because you could go months with that.
Well, and the thing is, like what you were talking about with last week about Yoko and Duggan. I mean, Bret Luger would be a pretty solid second.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of build the undercard there.
For sure, yeah. And it's funny too that everybody keeps mentioning how disappointing the Shawn Michaels Mr. Perfect match was. Because we noted it too.
Yeah. Pretty disappointing. Nibs89 from WFIGS forum says decent enough card and miles better than the WrestleMania offering that year. DiBiase's last pay-per-view match for the WWF, and good to see him doing the right thing for Razor. Mm-hmm. I've always enjoyed IRS versus 123 Kid. We also had the start of a push for Ludwig Borga that ultimately had no payoff, but was good while it lasted.
Holy shit.
Whatever. The Bret Lawler feud was great and got a kick out of the Lawler fake injury angle at the time. The main event was a bit confusing. Unfortunately, Lex wasn't the savior we all hoped. The match would have made more sense long-term if Luger had won the Rumble and beat Yokozuna for the title at WrestleMania 10, but don't have any complaints how it worked out in the end. A classic match between the Hart brothers and Bret getting the title. Of course, that's right around here. My only complaint about the main event here was the over-the-top celebration for a count-out victory just made Lex look a bit of an idiot. Vince should have pulled the trigger and gone with Luger. Even a 3-month run would have shook things up. Have him drop it back to Yoko at either Survivor Series or the Rumble, or have Bret win at WrestleMania. But overall, SummerSlam was well worth a watch.
You know what? And that's a good point. What if at WrestleMania 10, just like Hogan and fucking Ultimate Warrior, two big baby faces, what if they squared off? You got Lex Luger and you got Bret Hart. Who's going to be the top baby face? It's for the belt. That's an interesting point.
I feel like New York, the fans have always kind of favored Bret.
Right.
So
right. I think that would have been an interesting match. That's a good kind of point to bring home. And Lex having a title run from, say, SummerSlam to WrestleMania 10, that would have been a pretty damn good run.
Yeah.
And you could have done that. You could have got him, you could have fed him, Border guy, you could have fed him probably Adam Bomb. A couple different guys, because some of the smaller kind of up and coming heels, even him and Bam Bam probably could have ran a program together pretty good. Interesting. I kind of like that. I like that guy's whole post. That was good.
Yeah. Before I forget, because I forgot to put it in my document here, Michael Vincent, another one of our loyal followers here, shared some comments about SummerSlam 93. He says SummerSlam 93 was a B+ show. I really thought Lex would win after all the money invested in him. I was 12 at the time. The best match was Bret versus Doink. Bret went nuts. This is bullshit. But years earlier, remember when he said that on the Go Home show to WrestleMania 13 in the cage, he pushed Vince. Sad to see DiBiase go. Never cared for Steiners or the bodies. Oh, that kind of surprises me. HBK, my favorite of all time, versus Mr. Perfect. I was happy HBK won. Looking back on it, why couldn't he have won clean? Here we go. Now he's going to be on my side here. IRS and IRS versus 1-2-3 Kid and Jannetty versus Borga were pointless.
Hey.
So thank you, Michael Vincent.
Bullshit.
The Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez was okay.
What? Oh no, he's done.
Yeah, I gotta block him. The Dead Man is my third favorite. My second favorite didn't wrestle. I'm assuming that's Randy Savage. Why couldn't Tatanka pin Bigelow in the 6-man? The 6-man was good for what it was. Overall, at the time, I wish Lex would have won the belt. Mm-hmm. Overall, I give it a B+, as he mentioned. By the way, my second favorite didn't appear at the end of the. I'm sorry. By the way, my second favorite did appear at the end of the pay-per-view. Can you guys figure out who it could be? He already told me it's Randy Savage. I talked to him.
Way to blow that one.
Yeah, it's fine. The commentary was A-. SummerSlam 91 is my favorite. Thanks for everything. Rock on. Remember, if you are ever together in the same place, never throw one another through a barbershop window, let alone dive through it to escape.
True that.
I will never be in the same room as you ever again, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, especially because you fucking like Ludwig Borga.
Yeah, well, IRS 1-2-3 Kid match of the fucking night.
That's right, baby. 5 minutes of solid gold.
Evil Doink 1987 from W Figs. This is a lengthy one, so let's get ready here.
I'd throw your ass through the barber window and pop my collar.
Good. And I would come back blinded because the glass got into my eyes and I wouldn't be able to see my family. Oh, wait, I don't have a family.
You're the Jannetty.
I'm always the Jannetty.
Yeah, damn right.
That's right. Hey, you know what? I would rather be Jannetty than be Shawn Michaels and suddenly become cross-eyed.
Oh, that's fucked up. That's fucked up.
Okay, Evil Doink 1987. I'm going to focus on some of the other stuff from the pay-per-view since mostly everyone agrees on the mishandling of the main event. The opener between Razor and DiBiase was solid, always thought. Razor looked awesome in that pink attire. This was his first pay-per-view match as a babyface. Almost felt like changing of the guard here as it ended up being DiBiase's final match in the WWF, while Razor's star was on the rise, and he would become one of the company's most popular characters for the next few years. I love the tag team title match. The Heavenly Bodies were booked pretty crappy for most of their WWF run, but they could go. And Jimmy Del Rey gyrating was one of the most awesome and disturbing things ever seen. The Steiner brothers spent so much of that summer feuding against Money Incorporated, so it was refreshing to see them get some fresh opponents. Lots of great spots in this one with Cornette drawing a ton of heat. Just a great old school tag match.
Oh, you froze up on me there, Bob. I can't hear you.
Was kind of expecting the Kid to get another upset win. The crowd wasn't really into this one at all anyway.
You froze up on me there a little bit, Bob.
Where was that? Where was I at that I froze up on you?
After Bodies, I think.
After Bodies?
Yeah.
After Bodies were booked, did you hear Bodies were booked pretty crappy?
Yeah.
Well, he was just saying that it was fresh to see fresh opponents there and that lots of great spots.
Yeah.
With Cornette drawing heat and old school tag match. IRS against 1-2-3 Kid was okay.
Hey.
And he thought that IRS winning clean just kind of deflated everybody. And they were expecting Kid to get another upset win. The crowd wasn't really into this one at all anyway.
Please.
Aside from you. HBK Imperfect, one of the most anticipated duds ever. This should have been a classic with two of the greatest Intercontinental champions going at it for the first time on one of the biggest shows of the year, but it fell on its face. These two were always best at making their opponent look amazing, so their clash of similar styles is probably what resulted in this one being a stinker.
Really? A dud and stinker? I don't know if I'd classify it as that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that bad. It was disappointing.
It's vanilla.
Yeah. Like, just as soon as it was about to get hot, they did the count-out finish. That's what I think happened here.
Yeah.
This would be Perfect's last pay-per-view match in the WWF until the 2002 Royal Rumble, which would also be his final pay-per-view appearance. Kind of crazy because at the time it looked like he was just getting back into his old form after coming back from his back injury. The whole Bret Lawler doink angle was just pure entertainment, just great storytelling overall, with Lawler getting some nuclear heat. Fans hated him and wanted to see Bret kick his ass. The Bret doink match was excellent, although it seems forgotten in the madness. When Bret finally gets his hands on Lawler, the roof blows off.
Fair enough. Good points for sure. Yeah.
The ending is brilliant too, because even though Bret just beats the hell out of Lawler and exacts his revenge, Jerry gets the cheap decision. Such a shame Lawler got caught up in those legal issues, because this was for sure one of the hottest feuds in wrestling at the time. Of course, they would rekindle the rivalry down the road, and the matches were always entertaining, if sometimes kind of silly. If not, sometimes kind of silly. Ludwig Borga built poor Marty Jannetty. You know they were pushing Borga hard. He never leaves his feet once the entire match. To his credit, Marty sold everything like a champ and made Borga look like $1 million.
Of course he did.
Well, that's his job. The six-man tag was kind of chaotic, but very fun. Heenan was hilarious, saying that Tatanka and the Smoking Guns couldn't get on the same page because Cowboys and Indians never get along. Very cool spot at the end when all the heels ascend the top rope for the three-post massacre, but Tatanka moves out of the way and gets the W. Undertaker against Gonzalez wasn't much fun. I'll at least admit it is better than their WrestleMania debacle.
Yes,
still awful. Yep, still awful though, as Taker was in the midst of a multi-year streak of having some of the worst, most immobile opponents ever. Paul Bearer returning got a great pop when he got the urn back and the place went crazy. Still, the best thing about the match is that it signaled the end of a miserable feud. The show is also known for being the pay-per-view debut and swan song for backstage interviewer Joe Fowler. He got a decent amount of airtime. You're not kidding. And I'll be honest, I thought he was pretty good. What?
Oof.
His energy was great, and he seemed like a professional who did his role well. I'm not sure why his time with the company was so brief, especially since Mean Gene was about to leave the company and they'd be in need of a new backstage guy. If you never heard of him, tune in to QVC as the guy who does 1 million infomercials for all kinds of products. Yeah, I'm aware of that. The highlight of the pay-per-view comes from the pre-match interview with Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji and Jim Cornette. Joe is saying how it has been a night of surprises so far. He mentions Jerry Lawler coming on out in crutches and Paul Bearer returning. He concludes with, might the next surprise be Lex Luger takes the belt? Cornette's response, I'll tell you the biggest surprise, your implant. HBK Big Daddy Cool from WFIGS. I was 12 years old at the time, and I loved the event. But to this day, why didn't Lex Luger become WWE champion? Looking back now, you can see Vince was hoping to crown that moment at WrestleMania 10, but I guess he didn't think that Bret Hart fans would still be there by that event. And somehow Bret had more fanfare than he did in 1982 when he first won the WWE title. Lex should have won it at SummerSlam, lost it back to Yokozuna at Royal Rumble if they wanted to go with Bret then, or just have Lex hold it until his popularity dies out. Shame Lex never held any WWE gold of any kind. Even his IC title reign would have been nice, and I swear that he and Bulldog were going to be tag champions in 95, but it never happened.
That's another good point too. Yeah.
I mean, in 95, they were a pretty big team. Luger and Bulldog were probably more bigger stars than the Smoking Guns, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so who knows? Maybe they were supposed to be in line, even though Bulldog kind of turns heel and stuff. But we'll get there when we get there. Dr. Nick Rivera 995 from WFX. I was young at the time, so I really bought into Luger. looking back, I liked the guy in the angle anyway. He was over as a top heel, and then when he turns on the Intrepid just because he's American, it was a cool moment. Yes, him not getting the belt really killed it for him, but in the long run, I think it worked out. I have very fond memories of Yoko's title run. It's something they never really did back then, was to give a heel a decent run. I was glued to the product and so dedicated to see who could have taken him out. I was buying Crush Hard and even Macho when he got a shot on Raw, and I went to a show at a local fair Labor Day weekend to see Bret get his chance in a cage.
I'll tell you what, I don't know about a solid run, maybe leading up to WrestleMania for Yokozuna. I mean, other than that, I wouldn't call his current run very solid. I don't know. There's more to see still, of course, but just as far as, I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
Well, I mean, it could be also like a in general run. Because you gotta think. I mean, the stuff with Duggan, Savage, Bret, Hogan, Duggan again, Luger.
Well, you already know. I think his build up as a heel leading to WrestleMania is the best heel build up. One of the best of all time. I think, since then the ball has fallen quite far. But I would say maybe as a whole, 93 was a pretty damn good year for Yokozuna.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. And then for him to say, even though Luger didn't win, it ended up making sense and working out. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that either, but
let's see. We got a few more here. Pete F3 from the Fan Wrestling Board, which is the Freaking Awesome Network. Get quite a few listeners from there. It's a downright great with a capital G show until the ending just sours everything. Luger did come across as being shoved down my throat at the time, and I totally wasn't buying how a narcissist became a humble All-American overnight. I'm telling you, there's probably something in the water. And yet I still felt ripped off at the ending. You push this guy to this level, and then you don't even have the guts to pull the trigger.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's the vibe that I got from it.
It's nailed right on the head with that one.
Yeah. Smash TV from the Freaking Awesome Wrestling Network, who is he's shared his thoughts on this show before. As a Brit, America-loving Luger meant nothing to me. No disrespect to America.
Right.
But the gimmick was outdated, corny, and yes, rammed down the throat.
Yep.
As a result, after all the hype and seemingly endless campaign, the count-out ending made little sense. Luger just looked a bit stupid, sitting astride the Steiner's shoulders after a cheap victory, and in doing so killed any momentum he might have had. I know he was still in the title picture up till WrestleMania 10, but after this, it seemed to me that the fan allegiances lay strongly with Bret. The Hart Lawler feud was well deserved, and Lawler's fake injury was a proper old school heel tactic. Bret's match against Doink was pretty good, but when he got his hands on Lawler, the fans wanted to see him get hurt. Incidentally, this was one of my last kayfabe moments. 18-year-old me shouted, "Just hit him, Bret," which, with the benefit of hindsight, shows what a great heel Lawler was. I was disappointed with the Michaels perfect match. On paper, it looked incredible, but for some reason, they just didn't gel. A shame, as you could usually count on both men to really deliver.
You know what, too? And he brings up a good point of kind of overseas audiences really could giving a fuck less about, USA Pride with the main baby face. I think a good baby face transcends any border. Even Hogan, don't forget, Hogan was, America and all that, but that wasn't his whole MO. Which is why I think he, reached every shore and was over everywhere he went. But at a time where they're really focusing on overseas business, it's really no surprise to me that Luger didn't catch on, because they didn't relate with Lex Luger. Whereas give it a year, you got a guy like Bret Hart in that role, and they're doing big business everywhere they go.
Well, I mean, you look back when we were doing Rampage and Duggan was on the show and he's doing like USA and they're all chanting USA.
Yeah, but that's a chant. That's like a crowd participation thing. Do they really care that, oh, he's all in for the USA, or are they just, oh, this is fun, let's chant USA because we like Jim Duggan?
Well, that's a dangerous precedent, because if that was the case, I would just say really bad things and then have them chant with me.
Well, there you go. Because look at today, that does happen.
Yes, you're right.
I don't know. I think that's a very interesting point, especially coming from somebody from the UK who gives that kind of insight. It's a very interesting point. I think it's a valid point.
Chrono Cross from the Freaking Awesome Network. I thought it was a good show. Great opener with Razor putting DiBiase away, and the tag title match was great. Also, HBK Perfect was so not bad, but they didn't click, in my opinion. The way it ended made it clear they were going to continue this into the fall, though HBK being suspended would put an end to that. I liked Bret versus Doink and Lawler, and thought it was a great way to continue the feud with Bret keeping the sharpshooter on Lawler after the bell. However, Lawler would be out in a couple of months due to legal issues. Of course, we will get to both the suspension and legal issues later on. If you're trying to push Luger as the next Hogan, you should have pulled the trigger on the title switch and maybe have Yoko win it back at Survivor Series or at a Madison Square Garden show. He looked like an idiot celebrating a count-out win like he won the WWF title.
Yeah, everybody's on the same page.
That's a pretty overwhelming statement here.
Yeah.
Flash still loves Charlotte from the Fan Wrestling Network. The Bret Hart Jerry Lawler program was mainly why I ordered the show. See, I like this person. But I was pretty invested in Luger Yokozuna. The whole patriotic thing didn't really register with me so much as I thought Yoko was a scary heel because he took out Hogan so convincingly. So Lex had my sympathies. But Bret and Jerry, also Doink, stole the show that night. The six-man tag kicked ass as well.
Yeah, more valid points, I would say. It's
Nothing
really
about
interesting.
1, 2, 3 Kid and I wrestled, I'll tell you.
Yeah, they were earlier. So
yeah, but not that guy. He's like, no, it sucks.
It's very interesting that it's kind of a consensus here. It seems to be the tag match is basically that in the Bret stuff is basically the favorites, and nobody enjoyed the main event. Very interesting.
Well, they're focusing on the aftermath, though.
Yes, like that looks stupid.
The match was like not the end of the world bad or anything.
Right.
But everybody just remembers the aftermath, and if something that bad takes place, it can kill the whole show for you.
Right.
Our last one is from the Crusher WI from the Fan Wrestling Network forum there. He says, I was only in the first grade at the time, but even I was suspicious of Luger. So what, you're like 6, 7 years old and you don't trust the guy?
Do you blame him?
Well, yeah, I guess he's right.
He's in a flag loincloth.
I had known him as the bad guy who had tried to maim Sting in WCW and knocked Bret Hart out on the eve of WrestleMania 9. And now his whole life is about America. It was curious. Also, I associated all American guys with dopes like Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Guys like Hogan and Dusty Rose loved America, but were much more than that. I still cheered for him because I was sure that Yokozuna was going to injure every wrestler in the world and retire as undefeated champion, but I didn't really care about him per se. I was just hoping he didn't get killed, and then someone who I actually liked and actually had a chance against Yoko, like The Undertaker, could get the next title shot. As a whole, I think the show was quite good, and I have a soft spot for this time period for some reason.
I think that's a really cool perspective from like a young kid. Oh, Yoko is going to retire everybody and then leave as undefeated champion. And I'm pretty sure Fuji said that at one point.
Yeah, but I think it was funny that he's like, I don't care about Luger. I just don't want like one of my favorites to get hurt.
Yeah. Like, you can hurt Lex Luger, just don't hurt The Undertaker. It's pretty cool.
That was pretty funny.
I like that.
But even like, you're 6 or 7 years old in the first grade and you're like, I don't trust that guy.
Right. And that just goes to show. Funny. That just goes to show,
Yeah.
Very interesting. A lot of good feedback there. I liked that. That was good.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to read all that stuff.
Yeah.
It seemed like mostly everybody had the same opinion, but
Right.
uh, that tends to happen with pretty good shows.
Right.
So it should be
Right.
curious to see where we when we continue to move forward here, to see what other people have to say. And I think moving forward on those same message boards, I will create a thread there, and they can share their thoughts about Survivor Series '93 when we get there. That might be a little bit different
Yeah.
than what we have here at SummerSlam.
Sure.
Of course, just like it's been mentioned a couple times in those feedbacks there about Lawler and Shawn Michaels, I'm sure once IcoPod continues on, that will be heavily discussed in the Observer notes. So that should be interesting to kind of see how things unravel.
Yeah, there's a lot of band-aids to be brought out. I have a feeling. Like a lot of make goods and workarounds, and
Yep.
I have a feeling we're in store for some weird stuff.
Yep, but I don't know, man. I look forward to early '94.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That should be prime real estate for us. So that still plenty of stuff to really look forward to.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's crazy to think that, WrestleMania 10 is, right around the corner virtually. Yeah. Especially because that'll mean we've been doing this for over a year now. So it's been a fun ride so far, and I look forward to continuing it, I guess, with you, Bob, if I have to.
Wow. Okay. That's a backhanded compliment if I ever heard one. But no, you're right. So, I mean, once we get past Survivor Series, we're right into the march to WrestleMania 10, essentially.
Yep.
So that should be...
We work into, what, it's WrestleMania, or is Royal Rumble first?
Yeah, so it'd be Survivor Series 93, then Royal Rumble 94.
Rumble, WrestleMania.
WrestleMania 10.
Yeah.
Just a quick programming alert. There wasn't another Raw until September 13th.
Wow.
So there would be
2
nothing
weeks.
on. Yep, there'd be nothing on September 6th, and then it was back on September 13th. So when we get back to our regular programming here for IcoPod after a couple week hiatus, which no one will even fucking know about because we have a bunch of episodes in the bag as it is, there'll probably be plenty of house show notes, Observer notes as well, because it'll be about 2 weeks worth of stuff to kind of get through. So just a forewarning heading into that one that we'll have to play catch up a little bit. Plus syndication. Who knows what's going on in syndication?
Right by then, yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be quite a bit going on. This has been one of our longest regular IcoPod episodes.
For sure.
I would have to think. I think we started this around 9 o'clock or so.
Yeah, 9:30 maybe. Yeah.
9:30. It's currently quarter to midnight. Here
the
on
witching hour.
Here on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So I figured, hey man, we already had quite a bit. There's no sense in trying to continue on with any other bullshit. We'll try to get some sleep here at a decent hour. As mentioned in the beginning, if you have any thoughts on the podcast or anything that's going on that we've already seen, or maybe moving forward, hit us up on Facebook by typing in IcoPod, or send us an email at icopodcast@gmail.com. And we'll read them on the air and have fun with it. If you want to be on a future live watch, just let us know. We know that your buddy Joe there trying to find a way to get on, make it work.
Yes, Joe Fortune. We're hoping to square away something with him towards the kind of middle of next month for us. So right now, middle of September sometime, to do some live watching. And then we're going to record at least 2, Bob, right?
Yeah, one for sure will be Slamboree.
Right,
93.
the WCW show. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll pretend like we're renting it from a Blockbuster. And we're tuning in for that. And then likely just another Coliseum video.
Yep.
People seem to have really enjoyed the Coliseum video one. So we'll continue on with that trend. Hopefully you will continue the trend of following along with IcoPod as we continue the adventure, I guess you could say, for the World Wrestling Federation in 1993 and moving forward. At this point in time, I'm probably going to play like the Lex Luger "You Are My Hero" song for like 12 seconds and then just cut it and go right into Yokozuna because he let us down tonight.
Poor guy.
He failed us. But don't
You know
worry,
whose hero he is, though?
my hero,
No,
your hero,
Frank Carter.
Frank Carter, right? The fucking bus driver who had to drive a loser home.
It's gonna be a long bus ride home, Lex.
Yeah, it really is going to be. Hopefully, it will be your hero because we're going to continue on. For Austin Skinner, I'm Bob Colling Jr., and this has been IcoPod.
You always were there,
You gotta hear it.
always beside me. Holding my hand every step of the way. Through these eyes you could do no wrong. In these eyes you were brave and strong. In my heart those days live on. You were my hero.